The only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Oh, we no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer! Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters. We're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, joined as usual by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and of course the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
We have returned to one of my favorite breweries, and there's a big event today and a big release, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but we're back in Royersford. We're at Stickman Brews. Woo. And those who have a slightly better memory than mine will remember the last time we were here, we got in a very heated debate about let's just say the landscape of craft beer.
I don't think
general.
it was a debate. I think it was
not
a
debate,
conversation.
a conversation about it. But so we're back at Stickman now. The man who was on the soapbox that day is not with us, but we have a new friend in his place. So we have with us
Jim Buckman.
Jim. Thank you for taking Ethan's place and coming up here and having us out here, of course. And returning to the show,
Kate Sorrento.
and a voice no one could ever get tired of.
Bart Kaminsky.
Everybody knows that voice. Bart always finds a way onto the show. Guys, thank you so much for letting us out here and be part of this. And the event that we're at today is the release of your collaboration beer, which I kind of wish I could have given Ethan shit about the beer because it's a double IPA.
Right.
And he was a double IPA, New England style IPA still, right?
And by saying they, by the way, I think we should point out, and people that have listened to the show before, this is a collaboration between Stickman Brews and Hedz
Right,
Gear.
yeah.
Which, for those that don't know, Bart is the founder, the owner, the CEO, the main man that is Hedz. So that's why Bart is here.
Yes. Besides just the fact that we like Bart.
Sometimes I think we start this show and we assume that everyone has listened to all 126 episodes.
And they
and
just
then
don't know.
That's true.
for those that this is number one.
I want to
feel
know, though, Bart, do you have like a 30-second elevator pitch for Hopheads that you can give us right now so everybody knows what it's all about?
Absolutely. So Hopheads, in a nutshell, is an originally designed craft beer apparel company. So we make beer shirts. It's not that complicated. It's not that hard. But we basically make beer shirts that are cool, that are fun to wear, that are not cheesy, and they revolve around the craft beer scene. So we don't make Miller Lite shirts or anything like that. We make good beer shirts. And
I'll second that.
Yep.
Thank you. And we basically, it was an excuse for me to go to beer festivals and hang out and drink. Couldn't make beer at the time, and so I was like, I can make T-shirts. So I made beer shirts and go to beer festivals and sold the beer shirts, and then it actually started taking off, and I was able to turn it into a business. So,
All right.
Yeah, and
fortunate.
if you've been around to any beer related events of any kind in the Central PA, Eastern PA, and beyond areas, you've probably seen either Bart selling the shirts or people wearing their shirts. So,
Yes. Speaking of, are you going to be at Fagley's?
Yes, we
So-
just actually I sent the application in yesterday.
I sent it in today. You're ahead of me.
Nice.
So there you go. You can come see your
Nice.
favorite beer busters and the awesomeness that is Hedz Gear. It is the first Saturday, December 2nd, the first Saturday in December, Fagley's Brewworks. So there you go. I got to plug something at the
You
top
did.
of the show.
You did.
We're doing an event, people.
Yes, and you should definitely check that event out. Of course, you can always interact with us online. We have social media presence. We call it Soch because we're hip, we're cool. But you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's at BeerBusters. You can go to Facebook.com/BeerBustersPodcast. I mean, let's be honest, you're probably using the Facebook app and not a browser. So just type Beer Busters Podcast in the search bar in your app. Or, even better, why not leave us a voicemail or send us a text? 805-991-BEER. That's 805-991-2337. Like, I'm not kidding when I say I want people to use it. Use the damn phone number. I just want to know that somebody's listening to me.
Wait,
That's
I think
all.
you and I should just randomly call.
we should. I'm going to send like fake drunk texts. Well, actually drunk, but pretending to be other people.
You know,
to
I have
our
your
number.
I have your number. Shit.
My plan's been foiled.
It works.
You need a burner phone.
Yeah,
I
right.
do. I need a burner phone. I've always wanted to have one. Now I have a reason. I'm going to start selling drugs too.
College football coaches
my
have those.
That could be fun. Don't sell that short.
Oh, my God.
Burner phone or selling drugs?
All of it. Anything you get from 7-Eleven. A burner phone, blunt wrappers, get it all.
That is very true.
Yes.
Thank heaven.
Got us back on the rails, Dan.
I don't know that I can, really. We have a sipping beer, too. Now,
We do. The reason we're
It's
here.
not just any
I know,
sipping
it's
beer.
the main event, which is, like we'd said earlier, it's the collaboration between Hopheads and Stickman, and it is a double IPA, New England style. Nice, and I'm sure Ethan would appreciate if I said it's a very hazy beer.
Yeah.
But actually, like, It looks really cool. I haven't taken a sip of it yet, so I don't know. You guys have all
Hazy's
beat
like
me to
a light
that.
term for that. I feel like that shit's
this-
straight
it's
cloudy.
cloudy.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it is
like a
definitely. It definitely
Hurricane
hits.
force fog.
It hits all the right notes. It's very good.
Ooh, it is. What's the ABV? What did it come in at?
9.5.
Oh, good God.
It's up there.
Bart's trying to get us drunk.
Yep.
Wouldn't be the first time.
We have a couple rooms right down the road. If you guys get too drunk, please feel
Sweet.
free.
I don't work tomorrow.
You can cuddle with Wes.
Aw.
I would like that a lot.
Dude, there you go.
You're not alone.
Wes likes to be the little spoon.
That's perfect. I mean, he's physically smaller than I am, so it works out. I want to ask more about this, and I'm sure we'll swing back around to it, but where did this originally come from? What started the collaboration?
Wow, how far do you want to go back?
The beginning of time. 13.5 billion years, was it?
So last year at this time, I actually just started dating Kate. I knew of Stickman Brews from a while ago. Actually, from when we met him when we did a event with you guys at one of the first Sour Sundays at Free Will.
Okay. Yeah.
You guys were
yeah.
out there doing that podcast.
Oh, that's when we had Westy.
Yes,
That is.
And Ethan was on the show, so
Yes.
I met him briefly there. He was talking about Stickman Brews. And ever since then, I was like, man, I really want to go to this brewery sometime. And Kate and I just started dating. We were like, we need to do it. She's a brewer, home brewer. We wanted to do a little beer tour. We wanted to get the hell out of Harrisburg. So I was like, listen, let's hit Stickman. I've been wanting to go there. So we drove out here, hit this place, which I mentioned to Ethan, I think, that we were coming. I think Ethan was here. And I met Jim. And I rolled right up to him, told him who I was and started, preaching my stuff, telling him, I make T-shirts and blah, blah. And he was like, well, we'll see what you're all about. We'll see what happens. Maybe we can work together. Here we are a year later working together. So very fortunate for that. And honest to God, I tell Kate, I was like, I feel like it's fate that we met because I started off doing their T-shirts. And after we started getting that system down, Kate asked me to do their beer labels, which now I do a ton of them, and it's honestly my favorite graphic design, client stuff that I do. I get to draw stick figures on beer labels.
And it's evident in the labels. You can tell that you had fun
Fun
creating
doing them,
them.
yeah.
Thank you.
They're awesome labels.
Well, we threw him a huge softball. I mean, they're stick figures.
Yeah. they're all, I love the style of it. They're all literally on line paper kind of style. Just
very
basic.
recognizable.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and I love seeing. So you guys have, of course, the Hophead social media and the Stickman social media. But I love seeing when you guys, for Stickman, put out the label designs for what the cans are going to be. Which I love that you guys are canning. We'll get into that too. But I always I get a smile on my face when I'm scrolling through Instagram, and then there's a new Stickman design. It's that's so cool. It's recognizable, and it makes me realize that I still can't draw stick figures for shit. So I'm glad that you can.
Thank you.
Somebody could, yeah.
It's funny. It actually is a little bit more work than you might think. I have to lay out all those little stick figures and then put on the label and then think of things for them to do. And I always get crazy concepts from these guys. They're not anything normal at all. So
Most of which the government says, what the fuck are you doing? You can't have
do
somebody
that.
rolling a blunt on this.
which happens.
yeah, I've seen some of your before and after.
Yeah. I did
It's
a
a
little
learning
social media
experience.
rant on the one where we had pot
I remember
smoking
that.
and
Yeah,
stuff, and
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, this is ridiculous. People are over 21 that are buying this. They don't need to be censored.
Yeah.
What's a little pot smoking going to do to somebody?
That wasn't the only thing, though. There were a few things that you would have take off of that particular label.
Apparently, you're not allowed to consume beer.
On
You're not
a
allowed to
beer
have
label.
a picture
Yeah.
of consuming beer on a beer label.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It's
What do they think
pretty
beer is
crazy, yeah.
for?
that's what I don't get.
And you can't put the of food items that aren't actually in the beer,
you have to
which
watch
is
that,
crazy.
too.
And you can't name a place where the beer isn't actually from. It's all kinds of weird.
Yeah. Kate's becoming the resident expert on that. 'cause
You
I
really
think-
want to limit
Yeah.
the fun.
You do,
You have to keep
exactly,
the fun to a
yeah,
minimum
exactly.
and stop bullshitting around.
Yep,
All right.
yep. It's our Puritan heritage.
Good old government.
Yeah, the TTB. There you
Well,
go.
Before we start talking about things we're going to talk about later.
Yes. Well, speaking of things about the government, let's do this. Specifically, the Pennsylvania government has announced a new, term, label. Let's call it a label. It's now easier to know if that PA beer that you're drinking is actually homegrown. Customers at pubs, bars, and restaurants will begin to see PA-preferred branded tap handles and coasters differentiating some beers brewed in the state. On Friday, as of this recording, last Friday, was that yesterday, the 29th? Probably. There we go. Had to think that through. On Friday, the 29th of September, Governor Tom Wolf announced PA Preferred Brews, a branding program dedicated to beers brewed in Pennsylvania using agricultural commodities grown in the state. It's overdue that we market and promote it, said Cheryl O'Cook, who's Deputy Secretary for Market Development for Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. That's a friggin' long title. The new program builds on the existing PA Preferred program and is designed for brewers and producers of grains and hops grown specifically in the state of Pennsylvania. An announcement for the new program was made Friday, the 29th, as I've realized again, at Millworks in Harrisburg. The restaurant brewery released the first beer under the program, which was a PA Pale Ale. Millworks works with companies including Double Eagle Malt in Huntington Valley and Sunnybray Hops in Carlisle. Hops Rule. Carlisle. Damn it.
Lizzle.
Carlizzle, my nizzle.
So far, there are 20 breweries and 6 businesses that are on the program's roster, with more expected to join. And the state ranks first in the nation for barrels of craft beer produced, according to the Brewers Association. More than 300 licensed breweries operate in the state, which is a question I asked when we were at GK, and I'm glad finally I have a number for it, because we never
have
got
a vague number. It said over 300.
Over 300.
Say
More
the
than
number
300.
again?
More than 300. It probably just changed while you were listening to that.
Oh.
Yes, 2 opened and 1 closed in the last 5 minutes.
Exactly.
No, it was probably like 7 opened and 1 closed.
Yeah. And
So wait, one closed?
probably.
Shocking.
Apparently, there are 40. I figured that number would be more. 40 that are awaiting licenses from the PLCB. I think that's really cool, because we've been fans of doing everything as locally as you can for a while. I don't know
If it's good.
If it's good, of course. And I know clearly everyone here at the table, I'm assuming, would be in the same boat, because we know a lot of the same people, and we know the guys at Sunny Bray, or we know the guys at Deer Creek.
yeah.
And it's cool to see that they're getting more recognition from it. I'm glad that the state government is putting this together, so it's another way to label local stuff.
Yeah. And
just to be
it's-
more proud of that Pennsylvania heritage.
It's a logical extension of the already existing PA Preferred label
Right.
that was on
It
other
makes
things.
sense.
So yeah, definitely. Especially
Cool.
because there's so much good beer in PA. There's so much good homegrown raw ingredients for everything, including beer, in
you're right.
Pennsylvania. So it's awesome to see it celebrated and recognized.
We have good soil here.
We do. It's good earth.
Pennsylvania, we have good soil.
There's
Correct me if I'm
At
wrong.
least in the Piedmont.
good bones in this state.
Isn't PA now the top beer producer per capita over California recently?
Well, that's-
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
That's
the
probably
next-
what the article had.
because they
Probably
mentioned that
since
like number of
Yingling.
barrels. Yeah,
Yingling
Yeah, 'cause
definitely.
now
has.
and
it's
now we
considered
have
craft,
Boston
yeah.
Beer Company, because
Yep.
they
Right,
have
yeah.
a brewery here
Yep.
too.
That's right.
And then
It
with
ain't brewed
Victory
in
and
Boston,
Trogs,
people.
yeah,
It's brewed in PA.
Well, they got that
Some of
small
it's
like
brewed in
pilot
PA.
system in Boston
Yeah.
that like
That's
the
their
size of
fun
our
system.
system that
Do you
they're
look at
having
a-
so much fun with. But what they're really making at the old Stroh's Brewery is they're making by the tanker truckload.
I wonder how many people who like aren't super knowledgeable about beer production look at that system and think, "Oh, that's where it's all made. They make all the Sam Adams beers right here on this."
No,
system.
when you do the tour, they're pretty.
I'm sure they're open about.
They're very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you get enough guys together with beers and flannel shirts, you'd be amazed at what you can accomplish. Those
Some
are-
of the cargo shorts,
they're like Oompa Loompas. That
my
just
God.
next thing you know, it's 25,000 barrels out of a 4-barrel pilot system.
Oh,
as
my
long
God.
as it's copper, we're good.
Somehow they make it happen.
Why have we not had Jim on the show?
I know.
before?
I knew he was going to be freaking
Kate,
awesome.
where have you
Great,
been
trust
hiding
me.
him?
Yeah, right.
I said, yeah, I need him on the show.
He hasn't even gotten started yet. trust me.
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, his name's Buckman, so we know.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Ethan's older cousin.
Yes.
So
I
I'm-
guess our
I'm
audience
cousin-
doesn't know that.
Yeah,
we know
so
that.
Are you-
They don't.
I'm 17 years older than him.
Are you?
Wow, I would have never thought. Well, he is young. I always forget
Yeah.
how young he
Yeah.
And
really
I'm
is.
particularly youthful looking too. You're
Yeah,
right.
you are.
Steph.
No, you are.
You make a good
That's
point.
what I was trying to say.
So I wanted to ask this later, but since we brought it up, so you are Ethan's cousin. When we were first here, he was telling us about Cousin Stupid. Are
That's
you
me.
Cousin Stupid? Okay, I
Yeah.
thought so. All right, so we talked about Pennsylvania. I want to go to the Carolinas for a second. This is a story that Wayne found and sent over to me. Dunkin' Donuts, pumpkin spice cold brew coffee now meets craft beer.
Oh,
Tis
God.
the season.
Tis
boys and
Talk
girls.
about
season
Uggs and white
indeed.
girls.
Yeah.
Yep.
The donut chain has teamed up
Yoga
with
pants.
Yep.
Catawba, whatever.
Catawba.
Catawba Brewing to create a one-time small batch offering. The result is Dunkin' Pumpkin Brown Ale.
You know what? They are good at brewing that kind of beer, so I bet it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Well, according to the co-owner of Catawba. According to the owner of that place, it is fantastic. Like, that's his statement
So
on it.
road trip to
That's a
Asheville.
literal quote, yeah.
It will be sold exclusively at their 4 tap rooms between Charlotte, Asheville, and Morgantown, and $1 from each pint is going to be donated.
Is it
What?
in Morganton? That's right. They have a place in
Yeah.
Morganton.
Yeah.
And you can go to
Morganton.
Fontaflora while you're there.
Yes,
Plug.
do that. They're going to donate $1 from each pint to Second Harvest Food Bank of Metrolina. There's a lot of things I should have looked up on how to pronounce here, because that could just be Metrolina. I don't know.
That's really cool.
This is a chance for us to help out and support people around us, he says. He adds that the collaboration is the perfect fall beer, though just 60 kegs were produced. Dunkin' Pumpkin is the first ever collaboration and first beer in the country to utilize the chain's flavoring ingredients, Dunkin' Donuts, of course. And there's a guy in the area, his name is John Grenier. He owns Dunkin' locations down there, so I guess he started the whole thing. There's a growing audience for craft beverages, of course, and this takes it up a notch by adding the pumpkin spice profile, he says. So when pumpkin comes back into our stores, everyone's happy. It's almost like Christmas for coffee drinkers. The guy who owns so it's kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about it. I would want to try it, but I don't know.
Be interested to try it. Dunkin' Donuts makes good coffee. I'm not a fan of the pumpkin everything, but
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised to see a company like Dunkin' Donuts
That's what I was thinking.
doing a beer collaboration.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of feels like the kind of thing that the higher-ups would be like, no, that's a little too touchy for us to get into. Like, I couldn't imagine Starbucks doing this.
But
You know.
and you mentioned that I guess that guy just franchises a bunch down there, but I
he would have to
imagine
have
he would have
permission.
had to
Yeah.
have permission
Right.
from
so it's got to go up the chain,
higher-ups.
which is pretty cool. Starbucks, fun fact, they're not brewing their own beer, but they do have some locations that sell wine and maybe even beer.
And probably kombucha.
After some hours. Yeah, probably kombucha.
Probably.
Yeah.
So Catawba makes peanut butter jelly time, which is what I had last time I was there, and it
Peanut
was
butter jelly with a baseball bat.
that. It was delicious. Just saying.
I don't even have to hit it because you already did it.
Yep.
So that happened. Those are things that happen. Yay, Pennsylvania, sort of yay, Carolina.
Yay news.
Yay news indeed. But, hey, we're at Stickman, as if you didn't already know that. And we're in our unofficial podcasting spot, which is in the brew house. I guess this is still considered the brew house.
I
Sort of.
like
Like
when
all the
we co-
equipment's over there, but
I like when we come to places and we know exactly where we're going.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Right
table's
next to a
already
huge
set up for
pile of
us. Like,
grain.
yeah, it's all good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super happy to be here. I really am enjoying this beer. Did we say the name of the beer earlier? I don't think we did.
Rich thought it was double douche. He literally looked at the board and he's like, "What's it called? Double douche?" I'm like, "No, double deuce." It was kind of funny though.
Double Deuce.
There needs to be a variation at some point called double
Double
douche.
Yes, it
Douche.
does.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
triple dry hopped.
That
version
probably
of it.
won't get past
It'll
the
be the pumpkin
PLCB.
spiced.
Double douche pumpkin
That works
spice New
so
England
well.
IPA. Oh man, there's too much hipster going on there. It's just too much.
But it's got to be in a firkin.
In a
Of course.
firkin.
Yes.
In a firkin,
Yes.
yes.
Well, speaking of Firkins, you guys have a Firkin on today, right?
We do.
And it was, I know it was meh, but what else is in with it in the Firkin?
Apricots.
Okay.
Oh.
And for the people who might not know, meh is not just a description of the beer, meh is the name of the beer.
It is the name of the beer, yeah.
We'll talk more about that later. Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
Yes.
Again, like more teasing of things. We should just talk about things instead of teasing that we're talking
Well,
about.
we'll talk about it when we're going to drink it.
Yeah.
This is the show where we talk about things we're going to talk about later.
It's the exact opposite of an after show. This is the first ever before show.
This is the pre-show.
It's a pre-show. How often do you guys have Firkins? I know we probably answered that before along the way. Is it like an every weekend kind of thing, or is it once a month? No rhyme reason?
Whenever
no,
Ethan feels like
there's
filling
no
one.
rhyme or reason. It's just like if we have possibly some adjuncts available that would
Okay.
pair well with something that we've done. You know, sometimes we have a little bit of something left over, but we don't typically like go out of our way to do firkins with unusual adjuncts unless we just have them available already.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Okay.
I like that kind of. It fits in, I think, with the whole philosophy of Stickman, which is like you just kind of do what you feel
Yeah.
when you feel it.
Well, yeah,
Kinda
because
cool.
Don't force
because
it.
you know when
Yeah.
you start planning for something like that, you know the you know, in the brewery it gets a little bit hectic. We get a little bit behind. Things are always breaking. We're always fixing things. And, you know, the last thing we need is some self-imposed pressure like, oh, and now we have to get this firkin ready. And it's like, you know, man, it's 5 gallons of beer. Like, how much of your life are you going to spend on it? Because it's a nice thing to do. It's a nice thing to take a beer and put one side by side, maybe having enhanced it or changed it just a little bit, just to give it a little subtle tweak. But, you know, some of these times, you know, you guys have done 126 episodes. We're constantly like in a state of chaos. It's like, you know, little hurricanes blasting through here all the time without the half-assed assistance of FEMA to help. You know? So, you know, we don't even get any perceived bullshit government assistance. It's just us like weathering the eye of the shitacane here, and we're fixing this, that, or the other, and we do it, but we try not to make our lives any harder than we have.
Do you ever feel left alone in the middle of the ocean, like maybe an island of some sort?
Yeah, we're just out here. We're floating along, fixing a canner, a seamer.
Playing with label machines,
a ball bearing. It's all Chevy Chase said. It's all ball bearings these days. We all know.
We could all just get up and leave the mic there, and I think we'd have a great episode.
I don't really
talking.
need you guys. If you guys want to go drink, I can just ramble. For
I got
an
this.
indeterminable set of time.
Yeah.
Ask him about New England style IPAs.
Oh yeah,
I'm actually
that's my
curious.
wheelhouse.
Yeah, I'm pretty curious too.
Yeah,
because-
given the conversation we had with Ethan last time we were here.
he was very vocal about his opinions on it. What's your stance on New England IPAs?
So New England, I understand. It's one of those things that I can look at pragmatically and say I understand why people like them. I'm not particularly crazy about them, but IPAs are not necessarily my thing. I kind of like clean beers. I like lagers. I don't necessarily go for bitter as a profile.
Yeah.
But I absolutely could see the appeal of it. So I don't want to be like, highfalutin and put my nose up at people. I think it's wonderful. It's super popular. I understand it's me. It's not you, it's me. I don't like it. I understand why you guys do. It's just not my thing because bitter is just never something I got on with. And, I didn't get into this till I was like 40 years old, so I had a lot of years of hating bitter before the last few years of having to try and accept it. But,
right.
I actually think it's a very interesting, I think it's a very interesting style, and I will say that I prefer it to, a double or kind of more like a West Coast, like less bitter the better for me. So the fact that they're juicing it up makes it more appealing to somebody like me that probably doesn't gravitate towards bitter to begin with.
And I think, and I'm interested to know, because I think a lot of like the either tongue-in-cheekness or backlash against New England IPAs and the haze craze is less about the style, because this is a perfectly good beer. I enjoy drinking this beer. It's fine. I've drank lots of them that I like. But it's like this sort of singular focus on the trend that it's like all that anybody wants to buy. It's all that anybody wants to talk about.
I think what I find the most discouraging thing about it is that it's consumed. It's become the epicenter, the public focus of beer. It's become, and more importantly, it's kind of like become the new face of beer.
Yeah.
New England IPAs.
Yeah.
And the problem I have with that is a couple. And here's the caveat. I'm going to put this out as a disclaimer. I am not the individual that makes the beer here.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan makes the beer. I feel like he does an exceptional job. I'm only just throwing my opinion in. And what I feel is, from a technical perspective, I feel that there are other beers that are given far less credit, that take much more technical skill to produce than these things. These show a wonderful commitment to adjuncts and your commitment to buying a lot of hops. But I don't think that they showcase who's the best brewer making them. And I think it's kind of like saying if America turned around and said, holy shit, fucking grilled cheese, man. We fucking gotta have it. Close all those bullshit French restaurants and give me a goddamn grilled cheese sandwich. The bigger the better. The more cheese oozing out the sides. And then the chefs would say, well, that's bullshit, man. Like, I know how to cook a lot of things. I can make a souffle. That's harder than a grilled cheese. Doesn't matter. We want a grilled cheese.
Is there cheese on it?
Is there cheese? How much? Is it oozing out? Is it
have seven
super
different kinds of
juicy?
cheese?
Is the cheese got pineapple in it?
Was the cheese wrapped in plastic?
Can I use meat instead of bread?
Is it hard to get cheese?
Yeah.
New Zealand, right?
A New Zealand cheese.
Can I wait in a line to get it?
Can I wait in a line for a really long time to get something that tastes incredibly similar to what I can get from the 80 breweries that just opened in the last 12 hours around my house?
80 grilled cheeseries.
Yeah.
80 grilled cheeseries.
So that's the thing. It's not the toughest beer to make. It's very popular. It's kind of like, I'd like to see the resurgence. I think the problem was with some of the big brands for so many years, everybody's like, there's like this backlash. It's like, fuck lagers, forget about Pilsners. They've been running our lives for the last 100 years. Those sons of bitches made so much money. And they did, right? But it's not that it's a bad beer.
No,
so
not
like,
at all.
why can't we shine a light and get lagers, Pilsners, to get clean beers, to get ones that require a lot of technical ability to make good versions of? Why can't we get them back into the spotlight as opposed to just, many iterations of things that, let's be honest, they taste similar. The difference between the ones that we covet and the ones that we don't are how hard they are to get, as opposed to how they taste. Oh, well, shit, that place is in Vermont. It's got to be better than the one I can get down the street, because I don't live in Vermont. I have to drive hours to Vermont. So, that's the whole thing, and that's just the end of my first rant. There's more to come. But
This is going to be a great
I've
episode.
learned
it's
the
going to be
Buckman
great. Yeah, I'm a total asshole,
The
but that's
Buckman
what
family's
everyone's
very
gonna like.
opinionated.
Can I
It's
just
fine.
point out, you literally just named your next New England IPA here. Commitment to buying a lot of hops.
That's it.
It has to be.
Listen,
I
I've
love
been
it.
up on my soapbox like Eugene Debs during the labor movement saying, God damn it, listen to me. Everyone, it's hops. It's like, great, we get it. You can produce something at the very top of the IBU scale. It's wonderful. You have more money than me because you're willing to throw money at hops until they don't even have an effect anymore on the beer.
That's another one.
And-
Throw money at hops. Write that one down.
It's kind of like so that's kind of like the rant. I get it. I understand why people like it. We've taken notice. We're increasing the amount of IPAs. We're doing that. It's wonderful, but pay attention to other beer styles.
Yeah.
There's other things too. There's wonderful
it's
sours out there. There's wonderful
something
lagers,
we've been saying
Mares-
over and
the
over
Mares-
again. On this
Well,
show
I
is-
was at a brewery recently, and I don't want to name them. But a guy goes up to the bar. He's like, "I only
Fatigue appendages.
no, it wasn't there actually. Believe it or not." Guy goes up to the bar. And is like, "Hey, I've
It
never."
took me a minute.
Yeah, I know. I've never been here before. I only like IPAs.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you say that?
Well, and okay, but
you're
here's the
allowed
thing,
to
though.
like what
Like-
you like, but just and you said it. I think you said it best on maybe the last episode, maybe episode before. Order something that's outside your comfort zone because then you're going to try new things. Like if you want a grilled cheese, throw the pineapple in it, like you said.
But I think the issue is like if you only like IPAs, that's fine. You can like whatever
Yeah,
the hell you
exactly.
want to like.
Like what
If you
you
only
like.
like grilled cheese, that's fine. But then don't pretend you're an expert.
Right.
And don't act like you're
And
like,
don't rate other beers.
and don't
Well-
shit on other beers because they're not IPAs.
This lager's
you know.
terrible. Half a bottle cap. I don't like lagers. You've
Well,
disqualified yourself.
and that's the thing. And there's plenty of times that we'll have something, we'll have a Flemish red or something in the sour range, and it's like, somebody will say, "Can I have it?" "Oh, do you like sours?" "No, I really don't." And then you give them a pour of it, and then they're like, "Oh, I don't really like this. It's sour."
Well, you
Well,
said
what the
sour.
fuck did you
Yeah.
think that it was going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do like the Michael Scott thing from The Office and pour 2 Splendas in it for you and try and sweeten it up? I mean, what were you looking for here? It's sour. I said it. There's the disclaimer. Hey, this may be sour. Lock the children up. This could be sour. And then they're disappointed when it's
Hide
sour.
your kids, hide your wife.
It's all right. Well, let me get you an IPA again. Let me get you your pacifier again.
All right.
And, an IPA in a bottle with a nipple on
I
it.
do want to know that now that we spent the last 20 minutes shitting on the style of beer that you are releasing today.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole reason this event is happening.
I love it. Every minute.
I love it
Every
too.
word.
I want to know, Bart, I assume that you had some influence on
I did.
this being there because your company is called Hop Hedz for
Yep.
a reason. You are
we're,
an
We're going
IPA
to jump
guy.
right on the other side of the fence from what
Ooh,
Jim. Everything
exactly,
Jim was just
yeah.
saying. Much respect, Jim. Much respect, and I respect everything you just said too. And a lot of it I agree with too.
And just for a visual, for anybody who's out there, Bart is literally clutching onto his mic
Ready
to
to
make his
go.
point. Just do me a favor, don't drop it when the
Points.
point's made.
Counterpoints.
Yes.
Continue.
well, and I am as trendy as it gets. I will admit
That's
it.
an understatement.
I know.
And that's why we love
I'm
you.
going to call you Trendy Bart from now on.
I went from the West Coast IPA to the East Coast IPA to the New England Northeastern style IPA, and I freaking love IPAs. That's partially why I named my company Hop Hedz, because I absolutely love hops. I love bitter hops. I love juicy hops. I like sweet hops. I like everything about hops. So now, when it comes to me, my favorite styles of beer obviously are the IPA. I also love stouts. I like some Belgians. I like triples, doubles. I do like lagers and pilsners I like, but then when you start getting into like saisons or farmhouse beers, there's just certain things about those beers they just doesn't agree with me. So it's just a taste preference, nothing else. When I do drink one of those beers, I can, however, tell, like I don't shit on it, I can tell if it's actually a well-made beer, being as that I've been working in this industry now for how long. Like, it's hopefully, for God's sake, I can tell if a fucking beer's made good or if it's not made good, otherwise maybe I shouldn't be in this industry. But with all that being said, I think as far as the trends with New England style IPAs, there is a bit of a difference. I think you guys may agree with me if you're IPA drinkers. It's hard to find a place around here. Like, that's not really our style here in Pennsylvania, but it's hard to go to a bar or a brewery and find a New England style IPA or a Northeastern style IPA that's comparable to like a Treehouse or an Alchemist. Or if you go anywhere in like Stowe, Vermont, there's like River Roost. There's so many breweries up there. I think their style, like when you want something, when you know what you like as far as an IPA, and you love that style, you're going to go to where it's made to get the best one.
So besides it being hard to get and limited, what is it about the beers up there that make them so much better than the
I'm
ones
not saying they're
in
better.
that style? What makes their ability to brew that specific style so much better than
I really just think
down
it
here?
has to do with because everybody up there is freaking doing it, so they're doing so many different variations of it that they're picking out ones that are really, really good. Whereas down here, people aren't brewing it that much, so they're not really
like
perfecting
Tired
it.
Hands, Levante. Obviously,
Yeah, but-
Stickman just did one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think like this is amazing beer, but it's different than like pretty much Heddy's pretty much a double IPA. This is a lot different than like a Heddy. It's a
Right.
lot different than like or a Focal Bang or something like that. And I didn't expect Ethan to brew something like I didn't want him to brew something close to like that. But this has its own touch on it, and it's just different from what you find up there.
So, okay.
See, but I get the whole traveling up there, but for me, I don't go up there because I think that they make the best New England style IPAs. That's not why I go. I go up there because it's an adventure, it's a trip,
Correct, yeah.
it's meeting new people, it's visiting new places, it's trying new foods, it's hiking in new places, Like for me, it's all about the experience. Like I go to Richmond a lot, but it's not just to go down and wait in line at the Vale.
Yeah.
It's to go down. It's to see Joe Man and Angela. It's to go to Mekong and eat freaking amazing food. I mean, it's more than just the beer. And so, I get that you say that you like the beer up there, and that's great, but I don't think that's the main reason that most of us travel.
No, and you're right. It's honestly to get.
It's not like you go up to the Alchemist and come home.
No,
I mean,
I spent a whole
I'm
week
a
up
friend
there.
with you on
Yeah.
Facebook. I see all the other awesome places you go.
Burlington, amazing.
So if you try to be as objective as you possibly can, which I know is tough considering it's your favorite style,
Yes.
legitimately, if you are such a huge fan of beers from Stowe, Vermont, and some of the true northeastern breweries up there,
I really feel like he's in the hot seat right now.
what?
I know, bring it,
No,
bring
I
it,
just
I'm ready.
I am
He
genuinely.
did this to himself, by
Yeah,
the
he
way.
did, yeah, I did.
Everybody remember that.
I'm
I
genuinely.
think we've known Bart long enough that we can do that.
I'm genuinely curious if you can be as objective as possible. What makes it so special about them up there making that kind of beer that you would rather go to them and drink theirs and think it's better than somebody around here doing almost the same thing?
I haven't had anybody around here. Honestly, I haven't been to a brewery around here that makes a New England style IPA or Northeastern style IPA that is comparable or as good as some of the ones I've gotten.
So what do you think it is about those then?
That's
Well, I
a
think
good
it's part of
question.
like what you said, that like
Maybe
everybody's
they're-
doing it up there,
yeah.
and that's kind of where it
So
started.
That's where it
Yeah.
started. So they're
But
kind
what
of
makes it
perfecting the
better?
style.
Well, here, so I had a thought about that, and I know I'm like possibly answering the question I posed to you. Do you think? And keep in mind, the only beer I've ever brewed in my life was that stupid fucking Mr. Beer thing. But I know that there's.
Well, you brewed at Boobies with us.
I squeegeed.
You squeezed.
I squeegeed
the
at boobies.
floors.
Sure.
So obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. And there's a lot of chemistry, and a lot of it deals with the pH levels of your water. Do you think it's the water source up there that might be part of it?
No.
That is a legit.
It is a
could have
legit,
something
yeah,
to do
I
with
mean,
very.
if you go buy spring water from a store, they're gonna tell you where it was bottled. They're gonna tell you why that's better than the water you're getting out of your tap.
So you guys know, like the way a new Northeastern or New England style IPA is made. The big difference in what makes that hop profile different than like a North or a East Coast or like a West Coast IPA is all the hops are generally added to the very end of the boil or in the whirlpool and then dry hopped. So there's very little like bitterness to that actual beer. So it's all like it's all aroma or it's all right at the end. So it's all citrusy.
There's also
it's all
the flour
fruity.
that they add.
Or oats or Vienna malt, whatever you want to call it, that gives it that cloudy effect. But I think really all it comes down to is like once you find that formula or that combination of the hop profile, like whether you add like for this beer we use Citra, Azaka, and what's the New Zealand hop that we use? The something Sauvin. This is one Nelson Sauvin. Mm-hmm. So all very citrusy, like floral aroma, like fruity hops, I guess you could say. So in the boil, the only thing we really used in the boil is Citra, and it was a very, very little bit of it. All the rest was added right at the end of the boil, and then into the whirlpool, and then dry hopped. So I think that combination, like whether you add some hops, like 10 minutes left in the boil, then 5 minutes left, then 0 minutes left, then you throw this combination in the whirlpool, then this combination in the whirlpool, then you dry hop it with this and dry hop it with that. That little chemistry part there, that combination or that mixture, I think is what's going to make or break your beer and also give it that distinct like style or flavor while at the same time keeping it within like a New England style or Northeastern style IPA. So I think really what it comes down to is it's those experiments are going on up north all the time and all over the place. So these guys are coming up with some really good combinations or profiles for that, and then they're just sticking with it. Whereas down here, like, we're not New England. Like, we're not Northeastern. Like, we're Pennsylvania, which I'm fucking proud of, by the way. Our beer is just different. Like, we're not experimenting with all that kinds of stuff. So it's like if you want the... You know, I don't doubt that brewers down here like can make that or replicate or make that style of beer. Replicate's a bad word, but make that same style of beer and perfect it and make it good. They're just not doing it around here. Like Asheville has kind of a distinct flavor when you go down there. And like Steph's saying too, like I do go down there to vacation and hang out and meet people and do all that kinds of things, but they have like a style of beer down there that's hard to find anywhere else. That's one of the reasons why I love going there. So it's kind of like a beer mecca type place, like a beercation type place. I absolutely think Pennsylvania. Like you go to Central PA and hit some of these breweries, or Eastern PA, you know, Philadelphia, here at Stickman. It's, you know, there's lots of styles of beers around here that are fucking fantastic, that are definitely worth traveling to go see. And some of the best beers, I think, in this country are made in this area. I think some of the best beers in this country are made in New England, Asheville, you name it. So... that, I think, is my soapbox end right there.
End rant number 2.
Very well spoken. Very well spoken.
Thank you.
So we're
Does
not-
that make sense, though?
It does.
It does.
Yeah,
You're not
definitely.
just a pretty face that sells shirts.
Not just rambling on and getting drunker and drunker as the show goes
Although
on.
I will say Jim's
we
was
do.
funny.
Yeah, that's good.
Just saying.
That's so true.
So this is not the only collaboration that Stickman has done. However, you guys have done a few other collaborations recently.
Yeah, we did a collaboration with Rivertown in Pittsburgh. We did a farmhouse IPA, which actually we have on tap now, called Project Fish Stick. And we also did a collaboration. People are like, oh yeah, fish sticks, you know. Much more of a farmhousey kind of funkier IPA, a little bit sweeter. And then we did a collaboration with a local kombucha brewery, I guess. Kombucha brewery. It was a sour ale with beets and wild honey. And so that was really interesting for those, you know, who like, it was very, very sour, but it was beautiful pink and kind of that earthy and sweet from the beets and honey. So, and we've also done other collaborations in the past. Hidden River down the road is one of our good friends. We've done quite a few collaborations with them. So, and it's fun, of course, now Hedz.
And why we did one with Weyerbacher
too.
last year.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Tall, Dark, and Ugly.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's something that we enjoy and it's fun, and it's fun to get other, you know, people's feedback on our projects with other breweries.
I think there's something very attractive about doing a collaboration. Just like first that meeting of the minds to come up with something that you probably wouldn't have come up with on your own, and then just the act of working with someone else, like either inviting someone else into your brewing space or, you know, going into someone else's brewing space. It's, I don't know, it's just fun. And every time I brew with someone else in a different brewery, I always am very intrigued by their process, because every brewer does things a little bit differently. Like the first thing I always pay attention to is like how people store their like hoses and equipment. And, I mean, it's just a little quirky things. Like you learn from other people and you get good ideas, and I love that.
Well, that's a good thing about it. And we also did one with Levante. We did that barrel-aged wheat wine. And
Sensational weather.
yeah, and that was great too. But I think what's important with it is to collaborate with somebody that's doing something different than you are.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise it's just going to be another IPA and stuff like that. And it may be wonderful. It may be the best one that ever came out. But it would be really nice to see people with different strengths get together and come up with alternate styles and work on a style that, you know, that maybe throws people off a little bit. Like I wouldn't expect to see that in your brewery type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's also good because, you know, you know, the brewers, you know, they vary in age wildly, and I think one thing that's important, especially for these younger fellows and men and women that are doing this, is a lot of them, you know, a lot of people are opening up breweries and they're young people. And the way I kind of look at it is, if you don't collaborate, if you don't talk to other people in the industry, you're kind of stunted. You may be the best brewer in the world at 24 years old, but if you never work with anybody else and you instantly become the boss at that point, where is your growth?
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be stuck in that thing. You're going to be making the same beers, and people are going to say, wow, this kid makes the best beer, this, that, and the other. But 10 years later, you're going to go to their brewery and he's going to be making the same thing.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change. That's one of the cool things about collaborations you touched on there, is that like every brewery, or even if it's not a brewery and brewery collaboration, like the Hedz Stickman, everybody has their own style, their own sort of angle, their own sort of thing that they do. So it's really interesting because I know like Stickman started out as sort of like an American farmhouse was kind of the inspiration.
With the open fermentation.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you know, you've kind of moved on and you know, pressures from the market obviously, and just the changing beer landscape starting to open up to IPAs and stuff, and then in walks Bart from Hopheads that says, I'm all about hops, let's make a New England IPA, and now,
Yes.
you know, you have that.
I think
which is-
Ethan actually rolled his eyes when I told him the style of beer I wanted.
Oh, I'm sure
I
he
can
did.
only imagine.
I'm sure it did. I'm surprised he didn't like
He's like, well, it'll sell well. That's exactly how he responded.
Yeah. He should be like, you know, I can find someone else to draw my labels. Thanks.
And I like that, and I like the whole thing. And I didn't have a problem because the double IPA. I mean, it's a popular style, and it's something that I could find myself drinking occasionally too. But the one thing I wonder is when you go to a beer style, right? Like, let's just take an example of just, you know, ales versus lagers, right? So let's take the IPA. So we have the New England, the East Coast. We have the varying forms of IPAs. Now we have the New England ones. They all have to be hazy, cloudy, whatever. And I'm saying, if it isn't about that, then why do we have to introduce a process that doesn't do anything for the taste of the, like, why the gimmick?
Yeah.
What the fuck does the cloudiness do for it other than people
You're right.
they require it and demand it, but it doesn't do anything for the flavor? So I'm saying, when was the last time somebody said, hey, we got to get this lager, you know, to be bioluminescent or else no one's going to
the
buy it?
millennials.
You
Well,
know?
I
It's the
think-
Hey, wait. If you
I
have a
think-
bioluminescent lager, I will buy that shit.
I know you will. That's why we're working on it.
I think that it started with this whole idea that, and it's true, when you filter beers, a lot of that hop presence, especially your late addition hops, that the aroma, it disappears from the filter.
Absolutely, but
So I
aren't we
think
perpetuating a big fraud by doing this with flour and just
Well,
by
and
doing it
yeah.
artificially?
I think initially it was because we're unfiltering them because it is keeping that stronger hop presence, and it is just snowballed into this. Now we're going to try to make them as opaque as possible, and it sort of just becomes
It's one of those characteristics that had a legitimate reason to begin with, and then it just becomes a marker of the style that people like probably don't even. A lot of people probably don't even realize why there is the cloudiness involved. Like people probably don't realize the issue with filtration taking out the hop character. It's just become a mark of what it is, and you see that in a lot of industries and things where it's like this thing has to look this way because, you know, whenever a while ago it had a reason for that, but now it's just because that's what's expected.
And this whole idea that they're so limited, I think, kind of happened on accident. It kind of makes me chuckle a little when I think of it, because you can't let a beer like this sit for long. You can't.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a filtered, you know, even pasteurized beer that, you know, a lot of big breweries make, and they need to make it because they're making beer on such big scales and sending it all over the world, and it's sitting in warehouses and sitting on shelves, like, that beer has to last for a very long time. This beer is incapable of lasting that long. And I have had New England style double IPAs that were delicious. I literally bought some cans as they were being canned on the can line, and then they were put into my cardboard holder. But I had that same beer a few weeks later, and it did not taste as good, not nearly as good.
Agreed.
So we're saying that these are good beer styles, but is the beer good, or is it just like the fresh hotness that is in there and it's masking us? Because a lot of times I can't even finish one because I literally feel like I'm chewing on a hop pellet. Like, oh, this is nice, and I'm like, seriously, I need to get my head out of the bag. And I think once that subsides, which any beer it's going to when it sits over time, the beers are not as, I don't want to say as good, but, you know, and as someone that is very knowledgeable and has brewed commercially, like, you know, it's not just about making a beer that tastes good that day. You know, beer, we do things in the process so they can last. And so you can enjoy that beer a few months later. It can sit in your fridge and you don't have to drink it the first week it's out.
I like what I think, and something like that Bart touched on, talking about like that sort of delicate chemistry of hop additions, very late hop additions that make this style what it is, where there's sort of like that's where the action is. So does it make it less valuable because maybe it's not technically difficult to brew a beer like this, and it's not going to be good for very long? It's going to be very delicate. But I think there's still like a place for that. Like just because it's easy to make doesn't mean it's not worthwhile to drink necessarily.
But I never actually got to my point.
I'm sorry.
But I think the reason a lot of smart brewers only make a small batch of it and do limited releases is because they know they need to control the product.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it cold, sell it local,
Correct.
so that they
Oh,
can
just
drink it fresh
all over the
all
can.
over.
All
Because
over
if
the
you
can. If you don't drink this like right
so,
away,
and that's what I
drink
mean. I think
fresh.
it accidentally became this limited beer,
Because it
and
has
you have
to
to
be.
trial because
It
that's
has to
just
be.
the nature of the
That's
beer.
a
You
good
have to go
point.
get it at the brewery.
Yeah.
You have to get it cold. You have to keep it cold. You have to drink it fresh, or it's not going to taste
It's actually
like what a lot of people think.
Sort of
a New
very
England
clever,
IPA.
whether it's purposeful or not. It's kind of clever marketing.
And I don't
because-
know that they did that on purpose.
No, and
that's
it's
what I mean.
probably
It's
not.
like an accidental.
Jim and I
star,
were
but-
talking about this exact same thing earlier.
Yeah.
Like, why do people drive to Massachusetts to go to Treehouse to get this beer that they release on a Wednesday that they only make so much of?
Because if it came
And
all the way down
Treehouse
here,
doesn't
would-
serve
yeah.
it anywhere else. Like, that's the only place you can get
well,
it.
they have to control the process. They
Yeah.
have to control the beer. They have to control how it gets
Yeah,
in the hands
I
of the
wouldn't have thought of
consumer.
that.
It's such an important point.
They
If
don't
they would
ship it
distribute,
anywhere.
if they
Yeah.
would, it wouldn't be the same beer. It would
Correct.
not be good. It would not have like a 4.6 star rating on Untapped. And unfortunately, a lot of breweries don't have the luxury of making all that money simply giving beer from their back door. There are other points to this industry, and there are other things breweries need to do to make money. And you're lucky if you get that beer, and people are willing to drive 6 hours to your brewery and wait in line 6 more hours to get it. But I don't think that should be a way that we judge how
Correct.
good
I
a
absolutely
brewery
not at all.
is.
Not at all.
I
They're
absolutely
smart,
agree.
and I'm, it's awesome that they're making money. I drive and I wait in line. I am one of those people. However, I think we need to acknowledge what it is for what.
For
Anyway,
what it is.
I got to my point.
So
now.
to
Like,
that
not
point,
freak
Now I need
out
to take
over
a
it.
nap.
yeah, right.
I mean, I freak out over chocolate chip cookies when Kate brings them home. So, like, I can't.
Fine, when they're homemade and you're getting them from the source and they're fresh,
Fucking
it's the
A.
same thing.
Yeah.
It's you go to Target and buy Chips Ahoy, yeah, they're consistent and it's a good product, but it's not like Kate's
Not the
homemade
same.
chocolate chip cookies. It's not
Correct,
the same thing,
correct. But I still eat them all.
regardless.
So to that point about controlling the process, and you have the release date where you publicize the crap out of the huge line you got to wait for. So Stickman is canning now, but you guys don't do the whole, hey, we're releasing a beer this day. You're taking, as the notes say, taking the pretensions out of it just by, hey, we have a beer that's in cans now.
No
come
lines,
buy it.
no
yeah, no
hype,
lines,
no
hype.
pretension.
So
we're like the sheets of breweries. You go over here. There's a fucking cooler. It's got 15 different styles in it. Here's the thing. And Steph's point is great. You have that. This is a product that has to be very fresh, but at the same time, it goes back to my overarching point, which is why do we only idolize these beers that have to be consumed fresh? Why isn't anybody standing in line for like a dry hop pilsner?
Yeah.
Why isn't
Yeah.
anyone standing in
You're
line
right.
for a fucking stout? Because you have 4 months to drink it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. But it doesn't really matter what we think. It matters what the consumer is going to do. But the thing to me is that's why I say, and that's why. Fortunately, I'm not a brewer, because if you guys think this is a rant, because you're sadly mistaken. But if I was a brewer, I would be really fucking pissed off if I was one of these people that was true to a style, Belgian style. So tell me this: when a couple of years ago, everybody wants Pliny, the elder, the younger, whatever the fuck, Russian River. Everybody wants this, that, and the other. You think that was fresh? How the fuck
no.
long do you
No
think
way.
that's
Yeah.
been in a keg when you drank it? But
Literally
it didn't,
across
it
the country.
didn't stop the craze. It doesn't stop the hype machine. It doesn't stop rolling.
Yeah.
Once it starts, it just perpetuates. So the difficult thing is there's these styles and they're getting all this attention. But let's face it. I mean, if we had to quantify it into a percentage, these beers that are being worshipped and idolized across the country are probably like 1, 2, 3% of the type of beers that we could be producing. Shit that's off the charts, fantastic, exceptional, from people you're never going to hear about because they're making, an obscure style in an open top that, 5 barrels at a time. Like that person's never going to get the notoriety as, some of these Bobby Flays of beer that are making, that are the cool kids right now and making the beer that people are lining up for, And it's unfortunate because there's 95% of this business that people don't realize is going on.
Yeah.
And that's my only rant about it. I've seen Ethan, we've been here, and in some ways you're just banging your head against the wall because you're turning out one solid, clean, excellent beer after another, and it's like, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's not the right style.
Yeah.
So we do it, but we just kind of make the batches smaller, or we wholesale them. We send them out a little bit because we know, like our friends at Weyerbacher, they're in 15, 20 plus states, right? But they are because of the type of beer that they make. They couldn't sell all that in Pennsylvania.
True.
So that's kind of a rub right there, that you have an excellent brewery like that in no way on earth could sell all the product they produce in Pennsylvania because there's not near the appetite for it, right?
And it's amazing. All of it.
It's excellent beer, but it has to go to the far reaches of the East Coast and, east of the Mississippi because you couldn't sell it here if you
Yeah,
tried.
no, you're right.
And it's a shame. So I would just like to bring, we wanted to have like some kind of like beer awareness week, and our idea was just on the board, no matter what it was, just call everything an IPA. It doesn't matter. Oh, wait, but wait a second. This smells like cinnamon and it's dark. It's a fucking IPA, dude. Just drink it. And then they drink it. It's like, that IPA was dope from Stickman. It was really nice.
Surprise!
Yeah, I do kind of think, though, and I feel like every trend that's come along in beer, at least recently, there comes a tipping point. There's pushback. There's people like us that talk about it and say, "Hey, there's a lot more good beer out there." Like lagers are starting to get a lot more attention. I think slowly but surely. So this isn't going to last forever. And because, to your point about the beers being so delicate and like that being what makes them so rare, that's from a business standpoint, that's not very sustainable for you to churn out these batches of beer. Like, you constantly have to be making batches of beer and selling them within the week, within 2 weeks, or people are just not going to line up for it anymore. And you're running on a treadmill at that point. Like, you can't, and that's just not sustainable. So I feel like this isn't going to last forever. Like, this is going to blow over. There's going to be something else.
You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. Like, it's funny how the trends, and like I said, I'm a trendy guy, so I follow them. Like, they go in.
Bart already knows what the next cool thing is. He's just not telling
I wish
us.
I did.
Not gonna tell us.
Because I want to.
I hope it's lagers. I really hope it's lagers.
It very well could be. You know what?
Pilsner.
Styles always recycle. Like, things that were popular in the 70s, like long hair. Like, look at the kids in high school now. Like, everybody, at least a few years ago.
I don't know. The 90s are coming back now.
Things always
People
recycle.
think I'm cool because I'm wearing my Doc Martens again.
Exactly,
a few years ago, they look at
exactly.
me like, "What the hell is she wearing?"
I remember my
Who's that
parents,
Nazi
and
over there?
Yeah, my
I know,
uncle
right?
saying something to me like, "Man, we used to do that in high school. I never thought that shit would come back."
As
know.
long as the tribal tattoos don't come back.
yeah. I hear you. But funny thing, touching on what we were talking about, like Pennsylvania breweries and things like that, one of the things I think that's really cool about a brewery, which you don't see often in places like Vermont, is when a brewery is capable of making a ton of different styles of beer and having them all like kick some ass.
Yeah.
And Stickman's definitely on that map. I have
For
much
sure.
respect for Ethan and for you guys for that. Pizza Boy's a big one that I really like. I think the Terry's variety over there is like fucking ridiculous. A new one in Harrisburg, Boneshire. I think Alan's doing a fantastic job over there. And the cool thing about what he does, which I don't know if a lot of breweries do this, but Alan's friends with a bunch of homebrewers like Carl Larson and Jeremy Nye, and those guys go in there and brew. So he lets Carl do that little Piglet series, and those guys are both sick brewers.
Yeah.
So, like, you're always getting quality beer, and Alan doesn't give a shit. He's like, yeah, come in and brew whatever you want. So now you have all these different beers from different brewers, and like, you always go in there and get like a good variety of beer, and that's one thing I really, really like. Even though it's like, hopefully you take an Uber there or something like that, 'cause it's hard to leave, but because you want
You
to try
said
everything.
what, 10 to 15 different styles in that cooler?
We had there's 14 different beers, probably representing 6 or 7 different styles right now.
Wow.
And so the thing about it is, so when I see people do the Untapped thing, that's great. I'm not going to be hating on people that are doing Untapped and are I have some issues with Untapped, but I would say if you are really a beer fanatic, if you are really into beer as much as you say you are, you should be endeavoring to try examples of the best beer from every style that you can.
Yeah. Right.
Because otherwise you're just fucking kidding yourself. I know a lot about beer. No, you know a lot about one style because you're like an infant and you refuse to try anything else, right? And we're like mom and dad saying, Billy, you're not going to be able to eat chicken nuggets and mac and cheese forever. You're going to have to try a fucking avocado at some point.
I thought we were throwing shade before. Now it's getting real.
No, but what I'm saying is we have a lot of people come in on Untapped checking in. I saw one guy the other day, thousands upon thousands of check-in, and that's great. But if you
Does
really,
he know who he's sitting across from?
Yeah, but if you're really that into beer, then you should be seeking out examples of the very best beers.
Yes.
And you should be trying everything.
agree.
And you can say,
agree.
I'm okay. I don't like raw onions. I will try a dish with them and I will say, sorry, this hasn't made me a convert, but I'll try it.
Yeah.
Some people, it's like you said, the guy that walks into the bar, I only like IPAs.
Yeah. And
How can you only like IPAs? That's the only thing you like? Do you like, there's nothing else that'll do it for you, or you haven't tried. Just like people will say, I don't like Belgians. And we'll say, okay, well then try that. I'll say, here, then try this. And I'll give them an IPA that's made with the same yeast strain as one of the best. And it's just kind of like, it's not that you only like IPAs, it's just that you're
afraid to step outside of that
try
zone.
anything else.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You would probably like a lot of things. You'd probably try, love something like this Märzen if you'd give it a try. But you're never going to know unless you try.
Yeah.
That was the Meritzen.
That's what. Yeah.
That's the Helles.
Would
No,
you
no,
say
no, that's
14
the
different
Meritzen.
beers in
Yeah.
your fridge right
You
now?
pointed
14
to
different
that.
styles?
There's 14 different styles of
That's
cans.
pretty awesome.
And you know what I say? And it's not like to sit here and like put ourselves up on a pedestal, and you guys have all been around. Sadly, I have a lot of things that prevent me from going to all the places I would like to go to. But if any of you could name a place that's got 14 different varieties of beer in cans available for sale
It's
at
hard
any
to
given
find.
time,
Yeah.
then just let me know. And I'm not talking about a bottle shop.
Yeah.
And I'm
Right.
not talking about a fucking beer
brewery.
distributor. I'm talking about going to
I don't
a
even
brewery.
think Trogs has that.
No, I don't think they do.
Victory, probably not.
I mean, they have the inventory. It's certainly possible for
Yeah.
them to do it, but they're not doing it. So we're kind of doing it another way. And we find when we put a stout in there, it goes. When we put when we put just a black ale in it, it goes. So people sit there and they say, well, I don't know, and they grab a mother carton and they start loading beers into it. And I'm like, why don't you try this? You might like it. If you don't, let me know. Bring it back.
So you can buy single cans, or can you do like a mixed
You
six
can buy
pack?
4-packs right now at this time. But what we would like to do is we would like to be at a point where you could come in and buy single cans, because we would like to raise awareness of the fact that we're doing a lot of other things here, and we would love it if you would give it a try. Just buy one can. Don't commit to $16. I understand. I'm not pretending that that's cheap for everybody. I understand that some people are making a commitment, coming in and spending, $48 on 4 packs of beer when they could get 4 cases of, a big domestic macro breweries beer. That's fine.
Yeah.
But just buy one can of this. Just try this. If you don't like it, you spend $3 or $4
Right.
and
Yeah.
move on. But that would, in a perfect world, I'd have an IPA in there, and I'd have a mystery beer as the 4th one, and you'd buy a 4-pack, and you wouldn't even know what the 4th one
I love
was
that idea.
until you cracked it open and you looked on. You
have it underneath.
had to do the tab, and you looked underneath. Holy shit! I was just drinking. I was just drinking this Helles Lager. I never heard of that style, but I liked it a
love
lot.
that idea.
I love that idea,
On the
too.
inside of the can, so you have to finish it first, and then cut open the can
Like
to
a
even see what
puzzle.
it is.
Yeah.
People be suing them because they cut them.
Or like,
Exactly.
remember when it was a Coke that did those things where you'd open the can and the thing would shoot out, you'd like win a prize.
Yeah,
they got
or
like
lose
sued
an
over
eye.
it because exactly, like shit went wrong. So maybe not get too crazy with the can design, but that's a really cool idea.
Well, we have a lot
Speaking
more
of
to
cool
talk
ideas.
about.
Yeah. Speaking of
But
other style of beers,
Yes, there's more beer in front of
hit
us.
the button.
So this is General Merriment,
Yes.
which is 4-grain Meritzen from here at Stickman. I love the idea because we did the pumpkin beer. Like when we first started the podcast 4 years ago, we did one episode in fall where we did all pumpkin beers, and that was back when pumpkin beers for me were still kind of exciting.
Yeah.
And now I'm like totally over it, and I don't care, and I don't buy pumpkin beers. If you have one and you're like, here, try this, I'll try it. But I love the idea that we have the Meritzens, that we have the Oktoberfest, that we have something else.
And I
makes it
love that
good.
everyone at this table knows that those two styles are not the same thing. A Meritzen is not an Oktoberfest, and Oktoberfest is not a Meritzen. So
This
thank
is
you.
delicious,
Right.
by the way.
Oh,
couldn't
you like
wait for
something
you
other
guys.
than IPAs?
Yay!
it's
I remember
so
I
good.
told you I
He
do
does.
like other beers.
And I don't want anyone to have a Red Fox moment, but you are drinking a beer that's clear right now.
I know,
So
right?
don't clutch
It's
your chest
beautiful.
and tell Elizabeth you're on the way to see her.
This is absolutely
because-
delicious. Very well made.
But it's a very good beer, and these are the things. So when I think of beer, and I think of proficiency, and I go to a place and I'm sitting there and I'm deciding what to, this is what I'll choose, because I'm kind of, when I'm looking for the caliber and strength of the person that made it, I kind of will gravitate towards something like this. I'll gravitate towards a lager. I'll gravitate towards a pilsner, because for me, and a lot of people are free to disagree with me, but a really good pilsner, you can't beat it for me.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's the top of my wish list right
Jim,
there.
I think you're my new best friend. We should just drink together.
You know what?
all
I'm
the time.
everybody's new best friend, I think, except people that are dedicated to IPAs only.
So, Bart, while we're drinking this, I wanted to mention, I was checking out your table. You have a lot of new apparel out there right now.
We do, yeah. Hopheads has actually done quite... Man, it's been forever, I feel like, since we've been on this podcast. But, yeah, we've been doing a lot of new stuff. We have a Hoptoberfest shirt, which is being released in October, and it's...
Which is the very first Hophead shirt I ever bought.
Is it? Yeah,
the
I was
first
gonna
time
say,
I met you,
we've
the
had
very
that one for a
first-
while.
That's
the
an
Avetta
OG,
Brewery at
yeah.
Hershey. It was the first year of Beer Busters. We did the homebrew harvest. And I bought.
Wow.
I
Was
think
that
my
one of the-
mom bought it for me.
Was
That
that
is
one of the
original
earliest designs?
Yeah,
That, like
yeah.
She's Crafty was one of the original ones.
One of the first. Yeah. I actually redid the Hoptoberfest to fit on a hoodie. It's a slightly different design. So we're doing that now as like a limited release because they sell great this time of year, which should be common sense, but I'm an idiot and I made them in spring before, but whatever. So yeah, we just make those now this time of the year and sell them as like a limited edition. But on top of that, so you guys know we have the Captain Hop shirt, obviously, where we took the Captain America shield and threw a hop in the middle of it. And one of our best sellers,
Love that
by
shirt.
the way.
Yeah,
we
I
call it
see that
Captain
shirt
Hops.
everywhere.
So Wes actually came up with a pretty good idea. He's like, we should do a Punisher shirt. So I'm like, I didn't think it would work, but I got to, like, one night I'm sitting in my office, like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm hopped up on fucking caffeine like you wouldn't believe. And I'm like, you know what? I should just try this. So I went through like several drawings. I was like, all right, I'm going to make this Hop Punisher shirt. And I threw it on the computer. I still didn't like it. I threw it on a dozen different blanks. My brother-in-law is in the Air Force. I have a couple military guys in my family, and I want it to be like a military-style shirt. I sent it to them. They gave me some ideas on the colors, and I just sent it to the printer. And I'm like, man, I just don't like it, but I wanted to, we were doing a metal fest in Pittsburgh, which was awesome, by the way. We did a brutal beer fest. It was a heavy metal and a beer festival, and for those of you who don't know, I'm a huge metalhead, so this was like my mecca. So I'm like, I need a freaking Skull beer shirt. I'm just throwing it to the print and taking it out there. But after it printed, long story short, I thought it looked really good, and now it's one of our hottest selling shirts. It's the Punisher Hop shirt. So
Nice.
if you picture the Punisher skull, I made it into a hop, and we have a Hops Nation flag, which is an American flag with a hop where the stars are. That's on the sleeve. And on the back, it says USA born, USA made, local beer, which is one of the big reasons why I pride in craft beer is because it's made right here in our country with ingredients mostly here in our country, with sweat, and everything's made right here in the good old USA. So... But that's one of our new shirts.
You also have the, finally they're coming back, the Keystone with the IPA in the middle.
Yes.
I freaking love that shirt, so I'm glad that's around again.
And it's funny, that one is a collaboration between two Polacks. I'm sure you guys all know of Albert Kaminsky from Pizza Boy, and of course my last name's Kaminsky. I've been Pizza Boy's graphic designer now for about, 4 years I think it's been now. So he threw that idea at me a long time ago and was like, hey, Kaminsky, do this IPA shirt, throw the IPA in a Keystone. And then actually Chris Harvey, you guys know Chris?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure, home brewer. One day, he's like, dude, you got to just make that different sports colors for PA, and that'll be cool. So Albert actually did that. We printed a bunch of them, and I did the design. Not like it was hard. He was like, put IPA in a Keystone. But in my defense, I picked the font, and then I picked the thickness of the Keystone. Albert's buddy has a printing company in California. So he's like, hey, make Pittsburgh and Philly in these colors for his shirts. And so we sent him back, and he did the right colors, but he didn't look at them and see, like, Pittsburgh Penguins or Pittsburgh Pirates. Another long story short, I actually work for a Philadelphia another originally designed Philadelphia apparel company called Philly Faithful.
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah, we design a lot of shirts that are all, like, Philly-oriented. So, like, a lot of our shirt designs, it's all original stuff. So, but you have to see it and see Eagles right away or see Flyers. So then when somebody sees that shirt, they're like, damn, that's Philadelphia Flyers shirt, and blah, blah. So you have to play with the colors in a specific way so you see it like that. And it's some of the shirts that were done before, I didn't feel you saw, like, Pittsburgh. Like, as soon as you see it, you didn't think Pittsburgh Penguins or Pittsburgh Steelers or Philadelphia Flyers. So recently I met with Albert. I was like, hey, we need to redo those. We need to revisit. And I was like, you need to let me sell them and cut you in on the profits. He's like, yeah, whatever, Ski, just do it. So, which is a good thing. So, because the cool thing about him is, like, we've been working together long enough where he kind of gives me free reign to do that stuff. So I just made the colors this time, so I'm like, damn, like, I made a Kelly green shirt with IPA on it with the exact same Pantone colors that the Eagles use, the exact same Pantone colors that the Flyers use, and then the exact same Pantone colors that the Steelers and the Penguins use for their shirts. So, yeah, I know. It's sickened me to have to make Steelers
it's a Boston
shirts.
Bruins shirt.
I almost said that's worse. It's not worse.
Slightly different Pantone color.
Yeah.
Yay, sports.
Slightly different PMS.
Sports.
But yeah, listen, I'm a PA guy, but I'm also a Philly guy, so it did did sicken me a little bit to make those Pittsburgh shirts, but
It did until you got the check.
Exactly.
Until I took them to Pittsburgh and started selling them, and then that was that. But so again, a long story short, that is one of the newer styles of shirts we are carrying. Do we have another one?
Wait, do you have the Flyers one here?
Yes, it is, and we have the hockey hoods too.
I gotta check that out. I missed that.
A guy bought one earlier, I think, because he was wearing it. It looks really sweet. With
They have hockey laces.
The
on
laces,
them.
yeah,
They
It's an
are
awesome
dope as
sweatshirt.
shit. So you get a IPA shirt in Flyers colors with hockey laces on the hood, like they sell.
That's
man.
a cool idea. Yeah,
I
like
have
that.
to use the bathroom for a totally unrelated. No, I'll check it out later. I'm excited to see it. That sounds really awesome.
Well, while you go to the bathroom,
I mean, I'm not really leaving
we'll
the table.
drink this other beer.
There's a beer I got to drink. I'm not leaving the table yet. So, what is this other beer that we have?
This is Worried Man Blues. This is our dry hopped Hell's Lager.
I love the German theme in this segment.
I do.
Just
Yeah, me
saying.
too.
Say
Me
Worried
too.
Man's Blues. Is that
Worried
new?
Man's Blues.
That's awesome.
Worried Man's
It's a great
Blues.
name. I got to give these guys a lot of credit because I have to be creative in my world, but the stuff that they throw at me a lot of times in Kate's emails, or we actually have a spreadsheet. It's in Dropbox where they'll list all the beers that's upcoming, and then they'll have the original gravity and the ABVs, and they'll have a description of it, and then they'll have instructions for what I'm supposed to do with it. Some of them just say we don't know, run with it, but others are pretty descriptive. We just did Miracle on 10th Avenue. Yep. She's like, we need a caricature of Ethan and the whole what's the movie?
Tiny Tim.
Yeah, he needs to look like Tiny Tim, and then have the whole
I went to see this.
Yeah, 10th Avenue is behind us. So, we front a road called Lewis Road, but technically, our front entrance faces 10th Avenue.
Right.
And we came up with that at GABF last year. And then, so what I did, because we use Square, so every beer can have, a picture, an icon, a picture in there. So what I did was I got a picture of, Tiny Tim from the movie, and then I very, very crudely, photoshopped Ethan's face on it. Because he refused to do it. He was, we were at GABF, and we're like, dude, you got to do some kind of Christmas beer. No, Belgians. And we're like, fuck off and just do it. and so there was 3 guys much older than him, and we won, and he did this Christmas beer, and everybody loved it. And I was like, he's like, well, fine, what is it supposed to taste like? I'm like, fucking bread pudding, dude. It's Christmas, and you're Tiny Tim. So what the hell do you think it should taste like? What did the fucking guy want? He wanted some bread pudding. Give him some bread pudding, and that's the way that went. And then he had a hit on his hands. So that kind of starts the bug, right? The Belgians are great, but I think for a brewer, for a chef or anyone else, what starts the bug is when you get that, you get that first one, and it's like, wow, people really like this. Look how they're clamoring for that.
That can kind of tie into a point we made earlier. Beer drinkers need to step outside their comfort zone. Brewers should do the same.
Brewers have to do the same thing
because you're never going to do anything that's going to wow anybody else. You'd be a one-trick pony.
Yeah, Dan, you can't do Mr. Beer all your life, man.
I mean, you can't be, you can't be an accountant or something like that and
I'll
say,
do
no,
Mr. Whiskey next.
I only do hamburger restaurants.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I
capable
only
of
do
doing
addition.
anything else. I can only do pizza shops, though. Is that? Do you own a pizza shop? No. Okay. Well,
I should, though.
I'm going to pass you on to my colleague. He's a regular accountant. Brewers need to do the same thing, and I understand where there's this dichotomy versus your principles, what you want to do, slash, the economic realities of the business and stuff like that. But sometimes, in some ways, somebody has to be the one to say, I can get people drinking other than, I can get people eating other than, I can get people wearing other than. Just because Tom Brady wears Uggs doesn't mean I'm doing it.
Does Tom Brady wear Uggs?
There's other shoes. Yeah, digital camo, all of them. He's got the whole collection of them. Yeah, you bet your ass he wears Uggs.
He drinks pumpkin lager,
but
pumpkin brown ales.
But in every industry, there's got to be somebody that's willing to buck
while
the trend.
he's wearing all of his rings.
Yep.
All of his rings with his model wife,
laughing
and
all the way to the
hundreds
bank.
of millions of dollars,
Yeah,
and that fucking dimple on his chin.
I
that
know, he
prick.
is gorgeous.
I didn't say that.
I wanted to, though.
I wanted to think it, but I was afraid
is
of
he
my
a
thoughts.
sports ball man?
He is a sports
the
ball man.
quarterback of the New England Patriots.
Okay, I've heard the name. I have no
and
idea
he
what
has
looks like.
more Super Bowl wins than any other quarterback. He is the GOAT.
I almost said that, but I didn't. I wasn't sure if
he
I was
is
right.
the GOAT.
What does that mean?
Greatest
The
of all time.
Of all time.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
clever. I like that.
That's why one of the beers that I had to report on was like the Goat Ale or something, and it was Atlanta's response to Patriots winning.
Okay.
So they brewed it as Goat. And
To
it
be
was
fair, I kind of zone out when you do those sports beer things.
I figured you. I'll try to do more Star Trek ones. Don't worry.
I'm all about it.
Or D&D.
Should we put Wayne to work?
Oh.
Are we there already?
I think we're there already.
Is that happening?
Yeah, let me get a
Oh,
right
man.
screen on the soundboard here. Hey, Wayne. What time is it?
6:31 p.m.
I fucking knew you were going to do that.
It's also Happy Fun Time, Cheers Internet, and welcome to Happy Fun Time Games.
Did we just make 6:31 p.m. Happy Fun Time?
We did.
All right.
It's 6:31 somewhere. Happy Fun Time Games doesn't have to be the only podcast trivia segment you listen to. We just hope it's the best. Today we are playing everyone's favorite Happy Fun Time game. Say it with me, kids. Libation or fabrication.
Nobody's
Like this.
This is inspired, though. This edition is inspired by the often tongue-in-cheek names that come out of Stickman. Brews. So I tried to find other beers along those same lines. So this is, of course, a game where I will give you the name of the beer, and you have to tell me whether that beer is real or fake. And we will begin in time-honored tradition to my left with Dan. Our first beer of the game. Is it real?
I even told you to sit there, too. That's
Is
the
it
thing.
fake? You did. You told me to sit right here. And this one is for you. Our first beer is Millennial Falcon.
Oh, I feel like that's real. I feel like I've seen that and wanted to drink it.
All right, Dan is saying that's real. Steph, what do you think?
I'm going to say real.
Steph also saying real. Bart, Millennial
Real.
Falcon. Real. Kate,
Definitely real.
definitely real. And finally, Jim,
I wish it weren't real.
saying it's real.
Yes.
Saying it's real. Everybody saying it's real.
Yes.
Well, you guys know something I don't because it's fake.
Are you fucking serious?
Oh,
no,
thank
it's
God.
a meme. It's a meme. It is a fucking meme.
It is surprisingly not a beer. Although by the time this airs, it probably will be. It is, however, a meme featuring.
Will it have Oreos
God.
in it, maybe? Or
One of my most
Snickers bar?
one of my most upvoted comments on Reddit was a response to that. I'm so disappointed in myself.
The Millennial Falcon.
Shit.
A meme featuring an actual falcon, often espousing rebuttals to commonly touted criticisms of a particular generation. Do you know what else it is, Dan?
What?
And this will interest you. It is also a web series from Nerdist,
Oh, really?
featuring a young Han Solo, Leia, and the droids you are looking for, in a story set in a galaxy far, far away, but one that shares the same modern problems as our own. Because in a world with space Tinder, you can't afford to be cavalier with letting an empowered, modern, feminist princess know how you feel about her.
This is the Millennial Falcon.
Yes, let the audio record show that Dan is showing the Millennial Falcon to everyone. So not a beer. A thing, but not a beer. Moving on to our next name of the game, and Steph's gonna guess first on this one, and this is appropriately. This beer is called Don't Wait in Line for This.
Yeah.
Real.
Steph is saying that is real. Bart, what do you think?
Real.
Bart also saying real. Kate?
I'm going to say not real.
Oh, Kate is saying it's fake. Our first fake of the game, Jim.
It's all too real.
All too real. And finally, Dan.
I'm going to say real.
Dan saying real. Kate was the only one who was wrong because it is, in fact,
Sorry, Kate.
real. Colloquially known as Dwilft. Don't wait in line
That
for
could
this.
be our next shirt.
It should be. It is, of course, a hazy New England-style double IPA from Central Coast Brewing in St. Luis Obispo, California. Head brewer Brendan Go says that Dwilft came about as a tongue-in-cheek reference to the fact that I can think waiting in line for 5 hours to buy a couple of 4-packs is ridiculous. The initial can release was sold entirely through Eventbrite, so customers wouldn't have to wait in line. Though the brewer says they did joke in-house that they should. It would be funny to release it at the brewery so that people would have to wait in line for it because, you know, they're terrible people.
Or just don't tell people. Just be like at the bar. Oh, guess what, guys? We suddenly have this beer for sale.
Or do
Want some?
do what we do. Just have it show up in the cooler.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody.
Be like, oops, all berries.
I don't get it.
Moving on to our next beer of the game, and Bart is going to guess first on this one. Is it real? Is it fake? This beer is called Trade Bait.
I'm going to say fake.
Oh, Bart is saying that is fake.
Sounds like it should be real, but it's fake.
All right, Kate, what do you think?
I'm going to say it's real.
Kate saying it's real. Jim?
I think I'll say it's real.
Jim saying it's real. Lots of reals today. Dan?
Real.
Dan saying, real. Steph?
I think that's real.
Steph saying real as well. Bart was the only one wrong this time because it is, in fact, real. Once again, as any beer nerd knows, the trading of trendy, rare, and/or exclusive brews is more prevalent than Pokemon cards among middle schoolers in the early aughts. Co-owner and president of Burgeon Beer Company in Carlsbad, California, says the name of their, you guessed it, New England Double IPA trade bait came about when they saw everyone trading their beer all over the country. They thought it would be funny to come up with a beer to use as bait for beer traders. Moving on to our next beer of the game, and Kate is going to guess first on this one, and this beer is called You Probably Can't Appreciate This. Is that real or fake?
I think it's fake.
All right, Kate saying it's fake.
It's such an Ethan name.
I think, I was going to say, I think you guys looked at Ethan's notes somewhere. Because I'm
spreadsheet
going to
somewhere.
say that. I'm just going to say that has to be real, and that's not
If
a
it's
New
not
England
real,
IPA.
it's the next.
That is absolutely real,
Is it
and it
you
is a
probably
lager of
can't or
some
won't?
sort.
It's a lager
Can't.
of some sort.
That's a very important distinction, Steph.
It
It is
is.
can't and not won't. Dan, what do you think, real or fake?
I'm going to go fake.
Dan is saying that's fake, Steph.
Because I want it to be the next Stickman beer.
I don't know. I was going to say fake, but then when you said that that's a very important distinction, maybe you probably won't appreciate this beer is real, and you probably can't appreciate this beer is fake.
Oh!
I'm confused. What's your answer?
Remember, logic has no place.
Then I'm just going to say real.
Steph is saying that's real, and finally Bart.
Could you please repeat the name?
The name is You Probably Can't Appreciate This.
Fake. I'm just going to say fake until I get it right.
Bart saying fake, which means Bart, Kate, and Dan are correct. Because this one is, in
Damn
fact,
it. I should have gone with my logic.
fake. Unrelentingly
I'm
pretentious.
texting it to Ethan now.
Even by craft beer standards, it is fortunately not the name of a beer, but it is something I'm sure many a beer snob with meticulously refined and sophisticated palates think to themselves when breaking out the whitest of whales from their masterfully curated cellars. Moving on.
Little advice for brewers out there. If you're looking for some solid beer names, just look up any heavy metal album and go through the list of tracks. Because
That's true.
they are out there, man.
Anal cunt.
Wow. You went there.
Well, we're going to have to take that off our list.
It's on the board. Let's cross it off.
We're releasing
Sorry,
that next
Ethan.
weekend.
If you're
Gotta
listening,
do it.
Ethan, you're fucked. Sorry.
Sorry.
No more anal cunt.
You're fucked in your anal cunt.
Well, that's probably why I need a double douche at the end of the
What kind of style would anal cunt be?
It would be a Cleveland steamer,
Yeah. Or a hot lunch, maybe.
which
Yeah.
isn't a style,
It
but
would
it
probably
should be.
be like an extremely hoppy rye IPA. Or isn't rye like a bitch to work with? Doesn't that like get stuck in your boiling kettle and you can't fucking get it
No,
out?
I'm
It
sorry.
gets stuck in all the tubes.
You're
so
thinking of Katy
it's an
Perry.
Anal cunt.
Yeah.
Oh!
You're thinking of anal cunt. Okay, moving on. Mercifully to our fifth and final beer of the game.
Make it end.
And Jim is going to guess first on this one. This is Geriatric Hipster Club.
Oh, man. Fake.
All right, Jim saying that's fake. Dan, what do you think?
I'm going to go with real.
Dan is going with real. Steph?
Real.
Steph is saying real. Finally, Bart.
Real.
Not finally. Penultimately, Bart. And finally, Kate.
I'm going to say fake.
Saying fake. It's real. And I kind of knew Steph knew that, so I appreciate your poker face.
Well, no, because I know you don't come up with that many fake names in a game.
Not usually.
It's too much hard work for you.
It's true. Whether you're a mustachioed hipster, a World War II veteran, or just a person who enjoys...
Mustachioed?
Yes.
Mustachioed?
No, mustachioed. A World War II veteran or just a person who enjoys a well-made drink, this is an old-fashioned cocktail-inspired beer from the brewery.
The brewery.
And it is...
I think I've
for
actually
you.
had this beer.
Yeah. It was made...
Wouldn't surprise me.
It was made exclusively for their Hoarder Society members. Bourbon-like base beer aged in oak, combined with house-made bitters and just a hint of orange peel to simulate the twist that would typically finish off the classic cocktail. The brewery recommends pairing Geriatric Hipster Club with grass-fed steak medium rare with a side of organic roasted potatoes from the local farmer's market.
Oh, fuck off.
What?
Fucking kidding me?
Fucking organic potatoes.
I think they did that.
the beer
I hope
sound-
that was a little tongue in
I'm
cheek.
pretty sure that was a joke.
I do kind of want to try all of that, though.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah, it
want a
actually
steak.
sounds pretty good.
I haven't had a
It's
steak in a
fine.
long time. I really want a fucking steak.
So we're going to add up the points real quick here. We do not have a German Sparkle Party. We do, however, have a Brazilian Banana Brigade with 4 points. Dan is in first place.
Yay.
Tied with 2 points apiece in second place, or 3 points apiece, in second place are Steph and Bart. And rounding out the bottom with 2 points apiece, Team Stickman, Kate, and Jim.
Bum, bum, ba-dum.
Hey, everybody did better than one. That's a good showing
That's
and happy
true.
fun time. This is, of course, the part of the podcast where we shout out to our most generous patrons on Patreon. People we love like Wolfgang Von Colt, Victoria Miles, Ron McDonnell, Oak Brook Brewing Company,
you said it
Marilyn
right that time.
Engelman, Josh Price, Joe Mansell, Jen McDonnell, and Eric Dixon.
I was at Oak Brook again, and they still didn't have the fucking White Russian Stout that I've now missed 5 times.
God damn it.
6 times a charm. That's what my mom always
Yeah,
said.
I know,
I guess it is.
Mama always said.
Well, you're more than welcome to stay at our house.
Yes. You can head over to patreon.com/beerbusters to find out how you can become a patron and get totally radical rewards like having your name read on the podcast.
Woo!
Get listed on our patron wall at beerbusterspodcast.com, which is the name of our website. And access to behind-the-scenes content and, of course, our bonus podcast, Last
And
Call.
exclusive invites to
To
when we
events.
record in the, in the
Patron-only
basement.
recordings. Also,
Only patrons are allowed in the
also
basement.
another shout-out. We've gotten a couple more patrons recently who aren't at the Get Your Name on the Podcast level, but are still generous and donating to the show. So you guys know who you are. Thank you very much. And, yeah, head over to patreon.com/beerbusters because podcast is expensive, isn't it, Dan?
It really is.
So I
Yes.
think at this point in the program...
Especially a beer podcast, you rack up a fucking hell of a tab.
Yeah, I think it's time we took care of that.
Say, Yvonne, remember when I said I'd have to send away to NASA to calculate your bar tab?
Oh, yeah. We all had a good laugh, Mo.
The results came back today. You owe me $70 billion.
This episode is brought to you in part by Loot Crate, a monthly subscription box service for epic geek and gamer items and pop culture gear. For less than $20 a month, you get 6 to 8 items that include licensed gear, apparel, collectibles, unique and one-of-a-kind items, and so much more. You have until the 19th of every month at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate. And when the cutoff happens, it's over, it's done, it's gone, you missed it. By supporting Loot Crate, you are, of course, also showing your support for Beer Busters podcast. You can sign up at trylootcrate.com/beerbusters and enter the promo code BRIDGE10 to save 10% on any new subscription. That is trylootcrate.com/beerbusters. Enter the promo code BRIDGE10, like the bridge of the Enterprise, to save 10% on any new subscription.
This episode is also brought to you in part by Casper. Casper is an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price. Obsessively engineered mattresses at shockingly fair prices. Start sleeping better today. You can try Casper for free for 100 days with free shipping and painless returns. To get $50 towards any mattress purchase, you can visit CasperTrial.com/beerbusters and enter the promo code 50SLEEP. Try Casper for 100 days. $50 towards any mattress purchase for Beer Busters listeners by visiting CasperTrial.com/beerbusters and use the promo code 50SLEEP. Terms and conditions apply.
No.
Your beers.
No, your beers.
Hey, Steph, what's up?
So since the release today was a New England IPA, and I know how Ethan feels about that style of beer, I thought it would be fitting if I did my Know Your Beer segment on my absolute least favorite style of beer, the pumpkin beer. Right?
Fruity Yay.
Pebbles, right? Fruity Pebbles. So even though I hate them and despise all things about pumpkin beers, they continue to be favorites for both homebrewers and craft beer drinkers alike.
And white girls and Uggs.
White girls and Uggs.
Yoga pants.
So here,
Tom Brady, then? Can we lump Tom Brady in with that?
Yes.
Uggs, right?
Go ahead.
All right. I mean, he's a good quarterback. I'll
he
give it to
still
you.
has all
Steph.
those rings.
I
so
know.
it's all right.
It seems to hit particularly close to home for you. So I'll ease off.
So here are some tips for brewing your own pumpkin beer from the American Homebrewers Association, somewhat along with some of my thoughts as well. So first, of course, you need to choose a base style.
Oh, you mean you're going to tell us what you really think?
Yeah, well, I usually do. I personally prefer to use a brown ale base if you're going to be making a beer like this with all these spices and adjuncts. Not only because I love the style, but I think it offers enough roast and nutty flavors without overwhelming other ingredients. If you plan to use aggressive spice additions, I would choose a porter or stout because the darker malts create a nice robust flavor for a stronger malt backbone that can stand up to those spices. You could be different, maybe try a Belgian-style beer. The esters from the yeast would make a unique companion for the pumpkin spices. Whatever you choose, of course, the goal should be balance. Next, you're going to decide if you're going to actually add pumpkin or not. It's no surprise that most pumpkin beers have no actual pumpkin in the recipe, since pumpkin doesn't really add a lot of dominant characteristics to beer. If you plan to use
anything really,
if you plan to use raw pumpkin, choose pie or Cinderella pumpkins for richer flavors and more available sugars.
Wait, are Cinderella pumpkins a thing?
Yes, they are. They're quite cute too.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. You can also use canned pumpkin. Pumpkin can be added at just about any point in the boiling process, but typically before being racked into primary. It's also popular to add a few pounds of pumpkin, about 3 to 5 pounds for a 5-gallon batch, directly into the mash. If you're using fresh pumpkin, be sure to bake halved pumpkins at about 325 Fahrenheit for 2 hours, then remove the skin and mashing before adding it to the mash tun. Pumpkin is also oftentimes added to the boil, typically with 5 to 15 minutes left to go before knockout. Now it's time to pick the spices, what really makes a pumpkin beer a pumpkin beer. The recipe relies heavily on spices like vanilla, allspice, ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves. Any of those can be used. But I want to recommend that people try to go a little bit outside of the box. Maybe try to incorporate unique ingredients that take your typical pumpkin pie spices to the next level.
Ooh, a pumpkin curry beer.
Oh, I love that. What about a Jamaican rum-inspired pumpkin beer?
I like that,
You know,
too.
add some rum to it. Or why not add some mild chilies? Just give it a little bit of heat. You know, that would be nice. Spices can be added at most points in the brewing process, but they are typically added at the end of the boil or right before bottling to help preserve those flavors and aromatics. Spices can be added directly to the boil with a few minutes left, with the tricky part being the inability to adjust taste, however. If adding before bottling or kegging, it is recommended to make a spice extract with a neutral high-gravity spirit as a sanitary measure. Then add just a small increment of the extract to taste. Remember, you can always add more spice, but it's much harder to take them out. For some pumpkin beer recipes, if you dare, go to homebrewsassociation.org.
I have a question. I know like lipids and fats will kill head retention in beers. Do pumpkin? I don't know why I'm like equating, but like I feel like gourds and pumpkins are like fatty. Is that true, or am I just like, do they have some of the same like compounds, or am I just making an association in my head that makes no sense? I mean, they're obviously not animals, so they don't have fat tissue, but like oils and that sort of thing.
It's a minimal amount. I just looked it up. It's for 1 cup of cubed pumpkin, it's 0.1 gram of fat.
Oh, okay. So it's not enough to be an issue.
Correct.
It's probably a healthy fat, too, since it's coming from a pumpkin.
That's how I like to look at myself.
Healthy fat?
Yep. Good for your heart. Like an avocado.
It's like an avocado, yeah.
Like you stress over regular stress. Like
Right.
just healthy, and
Right.
that's nice.
So fat from plants is okay. Fat from animals is not.
Correct.
Is that where we landed? Okay.
Yes.
But
There's one other
That's a
thing.
whole nother
One other
podcast
thing that
episode.
wasn't mentioned was in the male species, drinking a pumpkin beer absolutely obliterates your ability to get laid when women see you drinking it too. So you can factor
And if you're
that
a woman, it makes you want to wear Uggs and yoga pants, apparently.
You keep bringing
Correct.
up Tom Brady a lot.
Monday.
I'm just going to say it wasn't. You keep bringing him up. I wanted to let it die.
I don't know if you guys like last year there was this joke going around on like Facebook that someone was coming out with pumpkin spice tampons.
Oh, yeah. I almost brought that up earlier.
Wow.
That was fake. However, I have received in the mail a flyer from a spa offering pumpkin facials.
I was thinking about a pumpkin enema. There's got to be some science behind it.
It's definitely behind it.
Part of me kind of wants to look that up on Pornhub.
I think I know.
Part of you just wants to peruse Pornhub right now, regardless.
This podcast has really gone downhill.
I mean, we're talking about douching, cunts, and anal. I mean, let's just face it. You've been semi-hard the whole time, right?
Pumpkin spice and cunt.
I think that's the name of the episode. Semi-hard the whole time.
That's another beer name. It's another beer
I'm
name.
sending it right now.
Oh my god.
Pumpkin spice anal cunt.
Say it again. You've been. I need to get it exactly right.
You've been semi-hard the whole time.
Mom, please don't listen to this
It's a
episode.
semi, just movement. Just movement, nothing more.
little twitch.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Round 2, fight.
I need to drink more. I fucking need to drink all of the beer in the world right
So
now.
now we have more beer in front of us.
Dan, hotel room. Remember, spooning with Wes.
That's true. That's true.
Kate, help. What are we drinking?
Yeah.
Well, we have Meh, which is one of our new experimental IPAs. It's unusual right now. I think we have 7 IPAs on the board right now, which is the first at Stickman.
To Jim's delight.
Is that why Ethan didn't want to show his face today?
Maybe.
That's why Ethan isn't here this
I
weekend.
suspect. Yeah.
But we're intentionally just calling, with the exception of the Deuce, which is a double IPA, the rest are just IPAs. And we're really trying to encourage people to try them with an open mind, even if you don't like IPAs. We're confident you'll find something that you can enjoy. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback about our experimental IPAs. We've got a lot of pushback saying, don't forget about your non-hoppy stuff. But Meh is one of them. It's also the one that we have in the Firkin tonight with apricots. The other one we have is our Baltic Porter, the nuclear option. So 2 very different styles.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, indeed. I like that. This is a hazy IPA, and it's interesting to sort of contrast this to the juicy character that you get. Like this is very dank. This is very much more like bitterness without like something to cut it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have that juicy. And I prefer this kind of IPA to a sweeter, more trendy NE,
As it were.
I do find the style a lot more drinkable for somebody that doesn't gravitate towards an IPA normally.
Yeah. And the other thing is like it's this is going to sound really bad, but it tastes like beer. Like it doesn't taste like
Okay, Dad.
no, but in a good way. Like it doesn't taste like there's beers you drink that like I think it'd be really good. Like what was that margarita from The Answer that we had with Joe
Oh,
Man?
yeah.
Like,
that was good.
Those
that was
didn't
great.
taste like beer.
Oh, that was
like there
awesome.
was a little bit in
It's
there.
not beer. It's
Yeah,
kinda
exactly.
not.
And it was fucking delicious.
It
But
was
like,
delicious.
I want a beer to taste like beer, and to me, this tastes more like beer than like a New England IPA does.
I see your point.
Yeah.
Completely.
You know, kind of looking, Jim and Kate, at the double juice that we made. Like, I know enough about brewing to be dangerous. Like, I obviously helped brew the beer, but didn't see when the final product came out.
That should be your line if you're ever on a dating website. I know enough about beer to
be dangerous. Dangerous is my middle name.
Enough to be dangerous. That's a great beer
Do you
name.
think Ethan made it this cloudy just to spite me?
Probably more in a mocking / loving way.
I think it's fantastic.
I mean, it is.
'Cause it's so damn cloudy.
It is almost like melted orange crayons in a
Yeah,
cup.
it's seriously turbid. It's almost like the
I
effluent
mean, I
that comes out of the
absolutely love
sewer
it.
system. Right
I am
now.
not bitching, but it's funny now that I'm looking at it. And I literally, when we told him the style of beer, I was like, "Yeah, I want to do a Northeastern style double IPA." He's like, "Well, it'll sell well." Like I know I said that earlier, but that's exactly.
I mean,
how
he's
he
not
responded.
wrong.
But you would be shocked to know that beer would taste nearly identical if it were clear.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. In fact, I was at I do a beer festival up near Rochester every year with Stoneyard Brewing Company. And we were having almost this exact same combination. We were talking to their brewer. He's like, dude, I made this IPA for a while, and people would come in here, hipsters, and say, you guys should make this cloudy. You should make this cloudy. So he's like, finally, I did nothing to the recipe except I threw in this like gummy substance. I forget exactly what he called it. Just threw it right in the boil.
Is it roux?
All it did was just make it cloudy. Changed nothing about the flavor profile. All of a sudden, they're one of their most popular beers.
Yeah,
Just because it became cloudy.
a lot about perception.
Like
I mean,
he
it won't
laughed
change.
about
I mean, it will change the mouthfeel. I mean, it will change something. Obviously, the appearance.
Yeah,
but
I mean, flour would change the mouthfeel. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
I'd
Doesn't
even
it
thought,
change-
like, having come from a cooking background, I'd almost wonder why you guys couldn't experiment with, like, making a slurry like cornstarch and beer,
Yeah.
you know.
But that makes sense. They need that because that beer on its own has absolutely no mouthfeel.
Right.
Because they're using such a minimal malt presence there because they don't want...
Like, it's just enough malt to be beer, like
if
to
it's
ferment.
just
like,
literally
yeah.
water and hops with a teeny amount of freaking malt, and then they put oats, they need something in there to give it mouthfeel.
Yeah, you need an emulsifier in a way.
So it's
like
not
that.
cloudy for no reason, people.
Yeah.
It's so you can feel it
Emulsifier.
in your mouth.
Do you remember the 4 things that eggs do?
That's what she said.
Thank you.
Or he said.
So Bart, I see that you're going to start a Hedz online street team.
Yes, actually, that's on my notes to touch base on today. I have two things that
It's on ours as well. That's why she asked.
Yes. Two things I want to talk about as far as Hedz goes today. First of all, she may not be listening, but maybe she will be in the future. But I hired our first sales rep this week. Her name's Amy Collins. She is absolutely fucking fantastic. Long story short, I actually have known this girl since middle school. She was my 10th grade homecoming date. But yeah, now she's all grown up and married with kids, and she does have a part-time job, and her kids are now in school, so she has her whole days free. And the girl is motivated. She actually used to work at Trogs, so she knows the industry. She used to sell candles at like festivals, like set up her own tent and sell candles. She has retail experience, so she's freaking perfect. So at any rate, she's going to be handling Central Pennsylvania accounts. We're going to be working with Trogs, Pizza Boy, and also the Vineyards and Brewery at Hershey. So those things, they're going to be big accounts for us because they move a lot of merch, and especially with the holidays coming up, we're going to need somebody on top of that. But anyway, shout out to Amy. Congratulations. I'm really glad to have her on board, and it shows we're expanding as well. Number two, Steph just mentioned, our social media street team is going to launch on November 1st. And I don't know, you guys, your audience, this audience can prove me if I'm wrong. I feel like I'm the first person to ever think of this. But I used to play in a metal band back in the day, and we always had like a street team. Like metal bands have street teams when they're going to a certain city. People that are signed up for that street team, like Lamb of God, for instance, they'd have a Philadelphia street team. Before they would get to that city, they would send them a bunch of posters, flyers. They'd go hit up all the record stores and blah, blah, blah. And in turn, those guys would get free shit. So I'm like, nowadays, it's not like we're playing venues or anything. I was like, so I came up with this social media street team idea. And really what it is all you have to do to sign up. We're starting November 1st. I'm pretty sure the sign-up process is going to involve you sending me an email with your name, address, phone number, and then your social media handles. And really all we need is Facebook and Twitter. And then whenever you share one of our posts that's hashtagged HH Street Team, we're going to give you 3 points. If you give us a 5-star Google review, you're going to get 10 points. Also, if you, we're going to actually give you codes to our website, and if you give somebody that code and they go and buy something on our website, you're going to get 5 points. So we're going to keep track of all these points in the long run, and 50 points is going to get you a free shirt, 60 points a free hat, 100 points a free hoodie, and if you get 200 points, you're going to get a night out at your favorite brewery on Hedz. So it's kind of a cool idea, like, to get people to share our stuff.
How many points would it take to spoon with Wes?
Ooh, that's a great
That has
question.
to be like 1,000.
I'm thinking reach around for 300.
That's actually 20 points.
I'll take reach around for 300. I was just going to say that.
That's fair. 300's a lot of points, a lot of 5-star reviews.
20 points to spoon with Wes. Actually, one 5-star Google review, spoon with Wes. But yeah, we're going to launch that program on November 1st. Paul's going to do a blog about everything, and then we're going to blast all over social media. And really all you're going to have to do is send an email, sign up for it, and then we are going to keep a spreadsheet on everything to keep track of all the points. But I think the brewery thing's pretty cool because, yeah, like if you get 100 points, it doesn't. If you're in California, that's great. You can be like, hey, I'll be like, well, I can't come out there. Well, maybe I can. I'm going to try to come out there, but if I can't make it, I can just call that brewery.
Depends if Lamb of God is performing.
Yes, exactly. I can at least call that brewery, give them my credit card, and be like, yo, these fucking guys are on me. So it's something we can easily do.
That's cool.
With that being said, I got a little sneak peek for you guys.
Oh. Dip.
So,
exclusive on Beer Buster.
This is definitely exclusive. And I was going to put a teaser out this week, but I want to save it for this. I was like, shit, I'm going to be on with the Beer Busters tonight. So this is exclusive to Beer Busters listeners. They're hearing it first from me. We are also going to be doing a contest early in 2008 to name the hop.
Wait, did you say 2008?
2018, sorry. The beer's getting to me.
I told you there was time travel involved. I told you.
2018. By the way, in our last email blast, we have an event scheduled for August 28th. That went out on Wednesday. So, anyways, 2018, we are going to be holding a contest to name, our Hedz logo character guy?
Yeah.
That motherfucker doesn't have a name.
Hoppy.
He needs a name.
That's so obvious.
And
Hoppy
we are going to be.
McHopstash.
We're working on a huge prize for that, and it's going to be all across the country. So we're going to have to work out something where I really want it to be a brew tour to like big time breweries, whether we have to fly you there or drive you there or do whatever. So we have to kind of make it, or maybe make it some kind of prize where if somebody in Seattle, Washington wins it or something like that, we can make it pretty feasible. But it's going to be a big prize. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be.
Like a major award?
Like a major award. I mean, maybe it might not be a leg lamp. I don't know if I can promise that or deliver that.
Can it be something from Italy, though?
It can be something. It might say Fragile.
I'd like to submit Dankworth P. Hoppington.
But
I think he looks like an Ed.
That's fucking solid, dude. Write it down, please.
Kind of looks just like an Ed.
Yeah.
Dankworth P. Hoppington.
Yeah.
We never mind. We're not having the contest.
Contest is over.
Contest over.
We have the name.
Winner.
Wayne just
Contest
won it.
rescinded.
Your prize is a tour of Stickman Brews.
Yeah, right.
Hey.
And you can spoon with Wes tonight.
Nice.
I'm doing that one way or another. So
Oh, you can spill with Jim and Wes.
Wow.
Together.
Oh, I got
it's
it
like
all,
nesting
man.
like Russian dolls
Yeah.
almost.
I know,
you
right?
I don't want to know who's in the inside.
Well, it doesn't matter. No matter how you slice it, the naughty bits always line up in the middle.
It's true. It's true. It's like the center of gravity.
On that note,
Oh God.
I think we hit everything.
No, we didn't. We still got to talk.
Come and get cans.
We're drinking the Baltic Porter.
Baltic
It's really
Porter.
good. Thank you very much.
Oh, we even mentioned it.
Yeah, we mentioned it, but we didn't really talk about
It's
it.
delicious.
It's good.
It's
Ooh,
roasty,
it's really
it's
good.
tasty, it's delicious. It's
Yeah.
Drink more
Very
beers like
roasty.
this.
If you're a patron on Patreon, don't forget to stick around for Last Call.
Last call.
It's for your ears only.
And if you want to follow everyone on the soch, we have stickmanbrews.com, and on all the socials, they are at stickmanbrews.
Yes.
Hopheadsgear.com, and that's HOPHEDZ.
Because, of course, it is.
Gear.com. And on Facebook, they're Hopheads Official Gear, Twitter at Hopheads Gear. And you can sign up for their newsletter.
Well, don't forget, of course, at Beer Busters, Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, Beer Busters Podcast.
At us, bro.
At us, bro. BeerBustersPodcast.com. And that phone number, 805-991-BEER, 805-991-2337.
Who answers that?
No one. It goes right to a voicemail.
Yeah, it goes straight to voicemail. It's a do not disturb through Google Voice.
Whose voice is on the voicemail?
Is there a
I think all of
message?
it. I think we recorded a thing.
We
and it
did
might be
record
all
a
of us.
message,
Yeah.
didn't we?
I think it was,
I don't remember.
You know,
forgot. I think we did.
It was while we were here.
I think
You know
you're
who's
I
right.
remember
popular?
going outside
You
and
should
doing
try and see if you can get Morgan Freeman to make the voicemail.
Dude, definitely.
Oh, we should get you
Super
to do
fucking
it.
popular.
This is the fucking Beer Busters.
Yeah,
Just
say,
leave a message
hey,
already.
fuckhead, congratulations. You got the number right, you worthless dick.
There it is.
Maybe
There
Sean
it is.
Connery.
Is that a soundbite? Do I get a royalty?
Red October.
Leave a message
Signing
unless you're
out.
too much of a fucking idiot, you know? Maybe we'll call you back, probably not.
I love
So there
it.
you go. Call the number, and maybe that'll end up being the voicemail message that you hear, and then you get to yell
Welcome
obscenities
to the
back.
Beer Busters.
Yes. I have never been to Stickman and not had an awesome time, and this lives up to that. And, of course, anytime Hopheads Gear is involved, always a great time,
And shout out to Paul and Wes, who are here.
but not on the show.
They're working.
They are. Bart gets to just sit here and drink and make dick jokes, and
President.
yeah.
The privilege of power.
Is that what you get to do when you're the president of the company? Can I be president of Beer Busters?
No, we're even. 33, 33, 33.
We're
But
Parliament,
that's
man.
99.
Yeah,
I
we
know.
Did we
I
give
should
Rich
just-
the 1%?
We should give Rich the 1%.
Rich,
Rich is the
you are the
1%.
1%.
We have, we,
Do you know what you just said? You just called him a 1%.
I know.
we did.
I
We
know.
You really fucked up. It's kind of insensitive.
Oh man, we have to update our articles of incorporation or whatever the
I guess
document.
we do, yeah.
Make it 2. Don't make him have to call himself a 1%.
You should all
Yeah,
really
but then
have
it's not
titles now.
divisible by 3, the rest of it.
Yeah, we don't have to. Well, Steph's a brewologist.
Yeah, actually make up your own titles. That would be better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brewologist.
Yeah.
Well, we used to have a word for Wayne, but then
Apparently, it was trademarked, and we got told to cease and desist. So we
Yeah.
don't call me
Yeah,
that
who
anymore.
told you that?
the
Some
guy
guy
that
Person that
trademarks the word.
trademarked that word.
And
that we
I
can't say.
don't blame him. It is his trademark.
What was the word?
We'll tell you after
Yep,
we're done.
Not when there's microphones.
I could accidentally call him a huge asshole for you guys. If you want.
No, don't do that. Well, it really has been a hell of a time. Always has been, always will be with Stickman. And, of course, the Hopheads. You know, newsletters and such. But seriously, we can't thank you
still
guys.
love you, Dan.
Thank you. Kate and Jim, we can't thank you guys enough for having us out here.
Hey, we can't thank you. I mean, look at all this work. You guys lug all this equipment. You're wonderful to work with. You're marginally funny. You know, it was mildly entertaining, and We really appreciate your time too. Did I get it right, Kate? Did I say?
Yes, you got
All right,
it.
that's just.
You know what? I think the next one, maybe it's Ethan and Jim that do.
I was thinking that earlier,
Oh my
too,
god, it's going to be 6 hours long.
Battle Royale.
We do like to describe our podcast as adequate.
That's a fair assessment.
the
I
job
think you guys
done.
are really doing an adequate job. It's
Thanks.
like we do with our beer. We like to describe it as terrible beer at exorbitant prices.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And of course, it's always a
And
fun
we do
time. at
okay
Popheads.
T-shirts.
Yeah, but unfortunately, very unfortunately, this brings us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you, the person who is listening to this right now, my words are going into your eardrums. If you have not been to Stickman, change that as soon as you possibly can.
Agreed.
Yeah. And, maybe buy a Hedz shirt. Maybe.
Do it.
Maybe.
Do it. Yo it to
I mean,
yourself.
we're not
Buy
that
a
cool.
Beer
but-
Buster
Buy a
shirt
Beer
too.
Buster shirt. Come
Buy
to
a
the event,
Beer
buy
Buster shirt. I have one. They're
Yeah,
awesome.
those guys need the money, obviously.
Oh,
We do need the
motherfucker.
money.
That was
No,
kind of a
we
backhanded,
do.
somewhat of a
No,
compliment.
it's true. We need the money, please.
Not wrong.
Well, I'm Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and the Demented and Fermented.
Way bigger.
We'll see you next time. Oh, yeah, squids.
Do you guys know there's a band called Piss Christ?